Comic Timing is member supported by listeners like you over at patreon.com/comic timing. We thank you very much for your continued support of the show. For as little as $1 a month, you get some behind the scenes access. You get some early things every now and then, get some diaries, get some extra audio, extra video, whatever we can throw your way, we will make happen. And we thank you very much for everyone and your continued support of the show. Patreon.com/comic timing. Hey there, folks. My name's Ian Levinstein, and welcome to episode 244. 244. Nice and even. Not too shabby. Of Comic Timing. And Kris and Ian joins me for this episode. Howdy, Kris.
Hello. It's so weird without the rest.
I know. Well, you see, only the two of us got to experience what we are going to be discussing on this episode for the most part, and that, of course, is the 2025 Toy Fair in Review. View. Yeah, that happened.
I think you're making it sound a lot more epic than it really was.
I like making things sound epic. This was a return. I mean, those of you who remember our coverage from the last time around, the last Toy Fair was 2 years ago.
About a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah. But calendar wise, it was 2 years ago. As it was it before or after New York Comic Con? I'm trying to remember time.
It was the end of September, so it was like a week or 2 weeks before New York Comic Con. Let me say 2 weeks, because they kind of need that time to prepare, and I feel like New York Comic Con is too big to have that close of an overlap.
Right. Yeah, you are correct about that. It was September 20th to October 3rd, 2023. That was the last full-fledged Toy Fair. They had originally said that they were going to move. I mean, we covered this on the episode, but for those of you who didn't previously on Comic Timing, they were originally going to be moving to New Orleans. People were like, no, you're not. And they were like, yeah, we are. No, they were like, no, you're not. And then literally a week later, they were like, okay, no, we're not. And they decided they were going to stay in New York, where most of these people actually can go to, whether or not they have offices in New York or not. It just seems like it's a better fit for something like an international toy fair. New York is an international city. It's also very easy to get flights into New York.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't get direct flights to New Orleans from a lot of places. I mean, New Orleans airport is an international airport, but yeah, you're less likely to get a flight going to NOLA than you are to New York.
Yeah.
Also count in the fact that the Toy Association itself is based in New York City. Hasbro's based in Rhode Island. I know I think Squishables might be in New York, so there's probably other companies that are based in New York.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember, like Spin Master, like everybody's within, like, clustered around these major cities that are not New Orleans.
Mattel is El Segundo, California, but again,
it's basically LA.
Yeah, so LA to New York is a flight that literally happens all the damn time, so that's pretty easy for them. I am looking up now where Spin Master is based out of. And by the way, I was going to say this when we actually got to talking about them. Spin Master's name always just makes it sound like it's one of those like 80s toys where like it was like a dreidel, like one of those things that you would literally just like pull and launch and it would just spin consistently. That's the only thing I ever think of when I think of Spin Master. I don't think of like one of the largest toy makers. I just think of it as a toy, which it probably never even was. But that's
first off, the word that you are trying to describe is called a top.
Thank you.
You're like, it's kind of like a dreidel. You have like the string and you pull it. And I'm like, again, you're just describing tops.
Yep.
Which is a different company.
I forgot Spin Master's Canadian. So that's they're based out of Toronto.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That's why I probably see them a lot, because again, Toronto to New York is not a long flight.
No, it is not.
Actually, the Spin Master name does make some sense when you consider that their biggest success, their first success was Air Hogs.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, though they're probably more known for things like Hatchimals now.
Yeah. Well, and so going back to Toy Fair real quick though, yeah, again, they were going to move. They decided that they were not going to move, so they set back in their 2025 date. The time of year that this took place is the traditional time for Toy Fair, rather than the September to October shenanigans they pulled last time. And this was supposed to be kind of like a return to form for Toy Fair. Originally, they were supposed to have a smaller event in 2024 that never really materialized. If it did materialize, then
No, it didn't.
Heard of it, yeah.
I would have been invited because I mean, you too should get those emails from the Toy Association like,
Yeah.
hey, here's what's coming up. Vote for the Toy of the Year awards, and here's more of what's coming up. And
Yeah.
here's press releases from a company you've never heard of.
Yeah, and that was not the case in 2024. There were smaller events, like, we went to Sweet Sweet and got to dine on their food and their alcoholic beverages and their excessive amount of freebies that they give you on the way out.
Yeah, so those smaller events are run by Adventure Media, who publishes things like the Toy Book, which I think I have a copy over here. Hold on.
Oh,
Talk over my camera?
and as she does for you viewers right there.
God damn it.
We have a camera down. I repeat, we have a camera down. Whatever you do, don't move. Whatever you do, don't move. Or that's
Okay, yeah. But I found it. There we go.
There you go. Got it. Okay, cool.
Look, it's backwards on my camera, but whatever.
It is not backwards on the view that is being seen by the listeners. So that's
yay, AI.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so that now we're back in the time frame that Toy Fair typically tends to happen, which of course makes the industry happy because there's actual things to announce, and yet kind of really wasn't that much to announce. It felt like this time around.
So I mean, yes, the point I made back in 2023 was they kept talking about how a lot of the companies had asked for a Toy Fair that was closer to the holiday season because they wanted to talk to buyers.
Mm-hmm.
But then, everybody was talking to me and you were like immediately panicking because I'm like, yeah, but I don't come to Toy Fair for just to buy stuff. I'm press, so I'm here for the announcements. And if there's no announcements, there's no reason for the press to go to Toy Fair.
Exactly, yeah.
So moving it back to February when they have the announcements was a smart idea. However, I think Toy Fair is suffering the same problem that you're seeing with shows like Comic-Con and, the late lamented E3.
Yeah.
In that when COVID caused us to cancel those and everybody had to move their operations online, a lot of companies realized that they could do their own showcases cheaper.
Sure.
Online, or do smaller, like, little meet and greet events, locals things. So it really, COVID, we're still going to feel the effects of that. It really upended how things are announced to the press.
Definitely, yeah. And look, when Taco Bell has a iPhone-like reveal once a year now that is, broadcast on YouTube, and most of the people in the crowd are just, Taco Bell employees at the headquarters and whatnot, and they're revealing their new taco innovations for the year.
Well, that's more of a parody, obviously, but you know what what I'm going to say is about the Taco Bell thing is it's very similar to what Walk Hard did to music biopics.
Yes, you're right.
It parodied it so effectively, so well that when you actually do the thing, you look ridiculous.
Oh yeah, yeah, and now, which is why it wasn't just a one-off thing. They did it last year, and they just did their Moss event for 2025, where they're revealing their cheese taco shell insanity and stuff like that for the coming year, and people watch that and people enjoy it. At the same time, to bring it back to toys, there are reveal events that are done these days that are entirely online, that there'll be like directs that happen similar to Nintendo directs on YouTube or Twitch or something like that, where you'll get a lot of the information that would have normally been press releases that were coming out for Toy Fair for people to look at for the first time at Toy Fair. But a lot of these were not first-time things. They were revealed months ago or weeks before even the event happened.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff on the floor is always going to be old because again, their major audience is buyers.
Yeah.
But there were some announcements. But what I found interesting, and I guess we'll kind of segue right into our, one of the companies we went to visit.
Mhm.
Mattel had that big reveal of its sort of, I don't know what you want to call them, like customizable Barbies.
Yes.
They have the new line of Barbie Basics, and they're now going to sell these sets that come with three Barbie bodies, three
Hmm.
Barbie heads, three
Yep.
wigs, three pairs of shoes, various clothing pieces. And the thing is, they didn't have everything on display at Toy Fair.
No.
And they specifically said wait till Thursday. And then this past Thursday, that you went to creations.mattel.com and they had a live stream where they revealed the other kits in that series.
Hmm.
So, like again, not where the people who go to Toy Fair aren't even the primary audience a lot of the time
Sure.
anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. Also very frustrating because realizing I couldn't find any info on these things I had seen.
I will start us off before we even got to Mattel. One of the first things that I saw when I came in was this absolutely wonderful Sparkle Smash monster truck that was parked out there. And for the most part, this is what was used for the lobby areas, were reveal type things like this. Like there was a dance floor that was set up not too far from here that I have a couple of pictures of as well. That was set up exactly like a Rubik's cube with Rubik's cube colors and a giant like Rubik's cube type device on top that people could.
Well, it was a
join.
mock Rubik's Cube hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then there was like a Rubik's Cube thing on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably had people dancing on it at some point, but they're not going to do that for the entire show.
Oh no, definitely not.
It was very interesting. We were there on Saturday and everybody was taught like it felt really empty and everybody was like, oh, it's just Saturday. And that's weird to me because I always think of Saturday as being pretty busy.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's also, to me, that's the Comic-Con in me as well, because I think Saturday, and I immediately think that is going to be the busiest, but Saturday is also day one for Toy Fair. Like it's not an event that takes place on a Friday. It is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Monday, neither of us attended Monday, but I do know from when I did attend on a Monday is that Monday's actually pretty packed because, of course, industry professionals that are in New York are at work on Monday. So they're more actually probably more likely to be there on a Monday because they don't have to take their weekend to go to Toy Fair. They can literally do it as part of the business and attend on a Monday, get to see all the booths and hopefully make some deals in the process. So that's why it taking place on actual weekdays makes so much sense for an event like Toy Fair.
Well, what I think, so they did move the weekend of Toy Fair. It was traditionally President's Day weekend.
Mhm.
So it was always, so you had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so Monday was also a holiday.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that did change the dynamics a little bit, where people are like, well, I don't need to be there on Saturday. So I might as well just here, like you said, wait for an actual weekday.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a shame that you're not getting a comp day if you did go on Saturday,
Right.
because I do think there's an advantage to going earlier. To get, if you're talking to a representative, you're going to get them when they're less tired
Mhm.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
And obviously, for press, you want to be there as soon as possible to get the news as soon as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
So what I find interesting is like, because I wasn't really covering it news-wise this year.
Mhm.
So yeah, there wasn't much news to cover in 2023 either. Like I didn't really have an outlet for that.
Yeah.
But the last time I went to Toy Fair and did cover news, it was 2020. And the thing is, I go to these meetings and I immediately have to go back to the office and I have to write an article
Sure.
and might have to do VO for a video. And we're trying
Right.
to edit the videos to get the videos up on YouTube, as soon as possible.
Mhm.
And what I found now that I'm not actively covering the news is I don't feel like there are a lot of people who are actually covering it like a real news event,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is really fascinating to me. I think Comic-Con, New York and San Diego get faster, more thorough coverage than Toy Fair does.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was looking for news. Let me see if I can do this sharing thing.
Yeah. No, but by all means, you have the power. You have the ability to do that. It is
Yeah.
within your right.
I think I was on Reddit and people were like freaking the hell out
Mhm.
about this dolls customizers. You create Barbie Basics kits.
Yep.
There was like a little blurry photo from Instagram. I think it was like a screenshot of Instagram somebody had posted,
Hmm.
and everybody's analyzing it like it's the Zapruder tape. And I like it. It was driving me nuts. So I did post a photo I had taken at the show, and then a few people started analyzing that. But
Hmm.
the fact is like I Googled it and I couldn't find any news because nobody had actually bothered to write about it, which is just frustrating as hell, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
No.
thought that was really interesting that like it's not a news-driven event.
That's very true. Yeah. And I don't know if like you said, if that's a byproduct of the way things are now, or if there quite frankly just really wasn't a lot to be revealed this time around. I mean, going to some of the changes that occurred from this one from when we went in 2023. The floor itself was actually significantly smaller. When we went in 2023, the entire downstairs was taken up by Toy Fair. This year was not the case. The entire area that, for those of you who are in New York and have been to New York Comic Con, the area that's typically where the main theater is, when we went in 2023, that's where they put all the international toys. You were able to walk in there and have that experience, and then the rest of that floor was also being taken up by other booths like Funko and stuff like that on the bottom. There was no quote unquote international pavilion this time around in that area. That area was just straight up not being used by Toy Fair this time around. However, Hasbro was on the floor this year. Hasbro in previous years had an offsite location that you were able to view their stuff, and this time around it was straight up there at Javits. Mattel, there was technically the fourth floor, the Crystal Pavilion or whatever you want to call
The Crystal Pavilion is the part in front, the River Pavilion is the part in back.
it. There you go.
The
Yeah,
fact that there's a distinction always struck me as kind of dumb.
yeah.
But
I,
Mattel has what is known as the Crystal Pavilion.
yeah, I found your image that you posted
On Reddit.
on Reddit, by the way.
I could have pulled it up. I have my photos open in front of me.
Oh, I know. I just happen to already be looking for it when you mentioned it. So this is the image that we took at the Mattel booth, which by the way, thank you to Kris for actually being able to get these appointments, because that's another thing about Toy Fair is that you, for the bigger guns, like for people like Hasbro, Mattel, Spin Master, the Pokemon booth, stuff like that, you have to actually make an appointment in order to then get into their main area. A bunch of the other booths are wide open and you can just walk through and make your own tour essentially. But then there's others that are much more closed off. Playmates, we also will talk about when we get a little bit further on. We have to schedule an appointment for to actually see their booth. Mattel's area was that entire fourth floor. It was huge. They had their own coffee and cappuccino. They had make your own iPhone case and a couple of Androids for good measure with Mattel, branded products on it. And you would get a fancy tote bag and stuff like that. And then you would be able to take the tour if you actually signed up for it. But really, I'd say outside of what you already mentioned with Barbie, I'd say the biggest thing that Mattel was pimping to us, at least, is something that's not even officially out yet, but it's in the pipeline, and that is the Mattel Brick Shop, which, plain and simple, when it comes down to it, it's Mattel Lego. That is exactly what it is. It's Mattel's version of Lego that they're going to be able to sell model kits high end from what they were describing. Like they're looking for quality with these particular things, and I'm sure that they'll all be Mattel branded products for the most part that you'll be able to put together in Lego style once they are out on the market.
Well, I mean, the question that people are asking is, don't they own Mega Bloks? And
Yeah.
they're still selling Mega Blocks, but it sounds like the goal of this new brick shop is to do higher end things that they sell on
Yeah.
Mattel Creations.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
exactly what it is. Yeah, and it's a similar model to what Lego has been working with as well. Like, there were model kits that on Lego's signature brand that, like, you basically had to like vote on it and get enough votes in order for it to then be made and produced by Lego. And there would be these really cool sets that they wouldn't have made otherwise, but they're higher end, higher quality, and they're for the collector more than anything else. And I feel like that's what Mattel is definitely shooting for with their brick shop line more than anything else as well. But they also were celebrating and are celebrating their big anniversary year with a whole bunch of re-releases and anniversary edition versions of products like Uno and of course their Fisher-Price phone, which I had to take a picture of here. The Mattel 80 Fisher-Price phone brings it back to kind of like an old school model of it. That's a little bit similar to, one of the earlier versions of the phone.
Well, it's more like the one that is actually available now, but they put it in a red colorway.
Yes.
Because the original Fisher Price phone, if you guys are trying to remember which one we're talking about, it's the one that has the little eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn the dial, because it has a dial, oh my God, we're old. The eyes might like roll.
Yep.
The newer one, they put the eyes more at an angle.
Mm.
And it's like everything's smoother. That way you can't bash another kid's brains out with it anymore because, everything's safety conscious now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, everything was red. They have the Fisher Price, they had Barbie, Hot Wheels. All of their big brands have special anniversary items coming out.
Yep. Yeah, Uno, definitely in on that, and 87 different varieties of Uno, by the way, which we'll get into as we talk more about the booth. But yeah, I think that Mattel, it was swanky, but there wasn't like one thing that really like drew me as like wow, outside of what you're talking about there with the with the Barbies. I think that everything else was kind of what I expected. Even the WWE stuff, like there really wasn't anything new to reveal there for the most part, outside of like some new like cosplay-esque items where you can have the Rey Mysterio figure and you can have the Rey Mysterio mask, that sort of thing. But outside of that, really nothing super duper new. Ah, yes, thank you for the Shinsuke right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
zoom in here.
they are really great models. I will say that. Like Mattel does go all out with their likenesses, and they've just gotten better and better over the years. Like compared to like the crap ass Hulk Hogan that I had as a kid, where I think like its main feature was that it would if you could move the torso back and forth, so you could sort of do punching, I guess. Not exactly the best likenesses in the world these days. They're much more going for something reminiscent and similar to what the actual product looks like. And this is one of the higher end figures that you're showing us.
Person, you mean?
Yes.
Now that they can do laser scans and input everything into a computer, and that the computer can help them print out the molds.
Yeah.
You get these likenesses that look exactly like the people they're meant to be, which is just they actually look like the person. You're no longer squinting at them and kind of guessing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I have one of like the larger scope of them here, and like in particular the Jake Roberts I was very impressed with. Just a very articulate likeness here for him, along with AJ and a bunch of the other characters that they had on display. They also had a really cool Money in the Bank set, which I believe I have a picture of as well. Where it's a Money in the Bank play set where essentially you get to grab the briefcase, and it has a little bit of like a bounce action to it as well, and it's just it's a fun little thing that both
the floor, and I mean, in addition to the elastic wires along the edge of the ring, the ground itself is basically a trampoline for your figures, so you kind of toss them in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was pretty damn cool. One thing they didn't have on display yet, but they did announce in the days leading up to Toy Fair, is that Mattel once again will have the DC license So chances are next year at Toy Fair, they will probably have the first couple of toys back in the line, as once upon a time, Mattel had DC's license. And then McFarlane Toys took it for a while, and now it's back with Mattel. So yeah, that was one of the more awesome DC things that they did have the rights to, a set including a whole bunch of different Supermans over the years, and of course my dear Electric Blue, which is also Raph's Electric Blue, a nice little people collection of all the different varieties of Superman that they could put in there, which was pretty damn awesome. But
Yeah, no, so because little people, you have to remember when it comes to toy licenses,
yeah,
it's not always the company as a whole. Like it might be a division that has the license, and little people, strangely enough, has all these little sub licenses to make figures based on things like Superman or Beetlejuice, I think is one of the sets we saw while we were there.
yep.
I know I've seen Golden Girls around, which is insane, but those are for collectors ones.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It, it,
and the same can be said as well for a bunch of the other toy companies that we saw. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not just exclusive to Playmates. Like they have toys in multiple places. Same thing with GI Joe, for example. That's not just with Hasbro. There's also a bunch of other companies that have the rights to do specific GI Joe things. Not the same type of figure or even like diorama or whatever. It's just whatever they feel like putting out there that falls under their license, they can do. So that's what that falls under in the end. I also really loved at the Mattel booth the Office Polly Pocket set.
oh, it was very cute. Yeah, it came in the world's best boss mug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when it's all folded up, it looks like the world's best boss mug from the show. And then when you fold it out, it's a full Office playset with the full Office with a whole bunch of Polly Pocket-esque versions of the Office castmates. I mean, come on, it even has the freaking vending machine in there. Like, go all out. Why don't you? And it's fun when they embrace things like that as a company.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've talked about this before, and they didn't say it this time. I did not hear the word uttered by a single person we spoke to, but the kidult trend,
Oh my God.
which is honestly, it's a little bit insulting, but the idea is this is the only way they could really sell it to more traditional toy people
Yeah.
is the fact that people our age are still buying toys,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of reasons for this. I mean, we could probably have a whole episode where we bring
Oh,
on like Raph, and Raph just talks about his collection
yep.
for 2 hours.
Hmm.
But I mean, I think it's a combination of trends. Some of it is that a lot of people just aren't having kids,
Hmm.
so they go and just buy toys for themselves. Because I know,
Right.
like, my dad would buy a lot of toys for me and my brother that he honestly just wanted for himself,
Hmm.
and now people are just dispensing with that pretense and just buying stuff for themselves.
Yeah.
So there's that, and there's just like I feel like toys are better now. So if there is something you wanted as a kid, and then you see this new improved version, so you might want that.
Yeah.
And of course, just like we're now in the era of the nerds, where like pop culture has been eaten up by like the dorkier things.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Masters of the Universe X Thundercats. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like you can't possibly try to explain to me that this is for today's generation, because I'm sorry, it's not. It's I'm sure that there are probably young kids that would enjoy this, but for the most part, when you're putting out crossover stuff like this, you're doing it for people our age, because we're the ones who grew up with this, and it's a property that hasn't really had like the everlasting youth aspect that TMNT has in its reinvention over the years.
I feel like, I mean, again, I feel like as we're talking, I want to say, man, this could be an episode. Man, this could be an episode. Because Masters of the Universe,
Mhm.
just talking about that is just something that could be an entire topic. Because I was there for the original run. It started in what, 84?
Yep.
And, so I watched it as it aired. I watched the crappy movie. I got some of the toys. I
Hmm.
had a He-Man, which I think my brother ended up with. I had a Tila.
Yep.
Yeah, so Ian's posting this picture of some like reissue Masters of the Universe toys, and there's no Tila, and
Yeah.
I am deeply offended. Uh, but I think part of the problem with Masters of the Universe though is just that like Mattel doesn't really know what to do with it, and the fandom doesn't really know what to do with it. Like it's at war with itself in a way.
Right.
Because you remember that, like, so Kevin Smith had his Masters of the Universe thing, and this was airing at around the same time that you had the separate She-Ra show.
Yes. Yes.
But then you had this weird thing like, no, we have to do She-Ra. And it's like, no, everybody actually really likes the girly She-Ra that's on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. It was a fantastic show.
Well, and wasn't there also a CGI version of Masters of the Universe that was simultaneous with Kevin Smith's version that was also different?
I think that's what it was, is there was too many warring versions at the same time. Like, granted, we as comic book fans, we understand you can have different versions of the character.
Oh yeah,
like, how many versions of Batman do you have?
Sure.
But at the same time, there still has to be that one canon version that you can turn to in the end.
Right.
Like, there's always, I mean, hopefully always going to be Batman comics that you can turn to.
Right.
You know, and it's rough with Masters of the Universe because now everybody's arguing over what should and shouldn't be canon. And you know, and I'll be honest, I'll be one of the people that argues the original show was crap and should actually just be ignored when making new versions.
Well, and there is a new version coming. There's a new live action movie that's being made right now. That will be restarting it. I guarantee you, Mattel. I mean, and they did talk about it a little bit when we were at the booth, saying that fully expect next year to have a whole bunch of new Masters of the Universe stuff based on the movie up and coming, because that's what's going to be the new hotness that they're going to be trying to sell out there.
Yeah. I mean, having seen the Toys That Made Us episode talking about the background of Masters of the Universe, there's also the fact that the only reason it exists is because they were just trying to get rid of stuff they already had.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They were just kind of cobbled it together from bits and pieces. Like, it's a weird, that's why it makes no sense. I mean,
we'll get to when we're talking about Silverhawks and all that jazz, and it'll a little bit too, talking about things that make no sense. It's like, oh, we have these models already. Let's just turn the cats into hawks and just roll with it, and now they're in space, and that's it.
So just a side note, both me and Ian have been listening to the Seth Meyers Lonely Island podcast.
Yes, fantastic podcast.
Yeah, and the episode I just listened to, they were talking, one of the things, the social things they were going to do was like, hey, what was the first like knockoff you liked better than the original?
Uh-huh.
And there was like, and what was the first time you realized something was a knockoff? And they mentioned things like GoBots, which actually technically came first. For me, it was Silverhawks.
Yep.
I don't think I had ever seen the toys. It's just I turned on the TV to watch Thundercats, and there was no Thundercats. Silverhawks was on, and they all had the same voices, and I got so angry in that moment.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. And I even when I had my Thundercats figures, and I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, so I most of the Thundercats I was watching was already in reruns, but every now and then Silverhawks would be put on. I'd be like, the hell is this? Even as a kid, I'm like, what the hell is this? It's almost it, but it's not.
See, and that might actually be the other aspect when I talk about how people our age are buying so much more toys, leading to the kid adult trend, is the fact that we, like, for the longest time, society has treated children like morons.
Yes.
And now children's media has gotten better. I mean, you look at how many adult fans of Bluey there are. I love Bluey. I do not have children, and yet Bluey is one of my favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, like, kids have so much better shows. Like I just mentioned, the She-Ra show on Netflix is so much better than the original.
Oh, absolutely.
You can at me all you want, and you will be wrong.
By the way, I did just find my picture. You mentioned earlier the little people, but here's one of a bunch of the other licensed stuff they have, including, as you said, Beetlejuice, Lilo and Stitch, and
that's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, exactly. So
yeah, it's a set with Oogie Boogie and Lock, Shock, and Barrel.
Yep. So a bunch of other stuff thrown in there for good measure. I think that was kind of the bulk of it, although I will also point out with Mattel, And one of our listeners also mentioned this when I kind of did my photo dump on the Comic Timing fan group, that there is nothing creepier in this world than Toy Story figures that are just like sitting there in mid pose. There's just something extra creepy about it. And it might be the fact that we know that when we're not looking, they're alive, because clearly these things have souls. Like, that's been established already. Like, come on.
Toy Story is such an interesting toy license because if you, I think it's on the Blu-rays that I own. I have the Toy Story box set, and they have a little documentary talking about the fact that when Toy Story was being marketed and they were first, gearing up, they couldn't get a toy licensee. Nobody wanted to license Toy Story. It was this unknown brand from an unknown studio, and eventually they were able to find this one company. I'm actually forgetting the name of it, but what I loved about that is they got this one small company to do it, and of course they made buku bucks on it. The guy was like, "Yeah, I love Pixar. They put my daughter through college," which I think is just a beautiful thing. And they still have some of the Toy Story licenses, even though now that it's an established brand, obviously Disney Pixar is going to go with companies that can pay them more money.
Sure, yeah.
But they will still throw the guy a license or two, just for believing in them way back when.
Absolutely.
The other thing about Toy Story as a license, see, now I feel like we're not even like a fandom podcast. Now I'm just talking industry stuff, is that the toys are already designed. The toys that were in the photo you showed, here on the video, if you're listening by podcast, you know what the toys are supposed to look like. It doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah.
But the fact is that they haven't changed much in the past 30 years. Like my family went to see Toy Story together on the Wednesday. It came out Thanksgiving weekend, 1995. And that was our entire Christmas. And mind you, I was 15 and I was getting toys for Christmas because my entire family went to see this movie, loved the hell out of it. So we got every single one of the toys. We have the original Buzz Lightyear, the original Woody. We might have the dinosaur. I'm not sure. We also got the Happy Meal toys. We got a lot of Toy Story toys. If you're wondering if I'm going to sell those to make a lot of money, no, because my niece has them now. And that's fine because as we all learned from Toy Story 2, toys are meant to be played with.
Absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. And as long as the toys have a good home, then that's what you want out of life is to, have the next generation embrace and enjoy as much as you did in one way or another. So absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, my niece is 4. She is playing with Little People sets from the early 1980s, before they switched to those chonkers. Like the current Little People have actual designed faces and hair, and that's why they're able to license them to look like different characters. But if you are around my and Ian's age, you remember they're just little pegs that you can put on your fingers, and you wiggle your fingers. They only have little dots for eyes. But we had a garage and we had a town play set, and my niece plays with them, and I'm very happy with that. We never have to buy her toys again.
Thinkway Toys was the name of the company, and they had the license, the primary Toy Story license, from February 1995 until December 2021. And Mattel since has taken it over from there. So that's their deal. And Thinkway were smart enough to grab it, and like you said, it put a bunch of kids through college because of that.
Well, even as they expanded and they started selling the license off to other companies, they always made sure Thinkway had some license. Like in 2008, they had the license to make the Wall-E robots, like the life-size robots.
Yep.
Which I kind of wish they still made because my niece really wants Wall-E toys, and you can't get Wall-E toys in 2025.
See, that should be something that Mattel is still putting out there. Like Pixar itself, there were a bunch of Cars toys and stuff like that on display while we were there. So clearly, it makes sense to continue to just put all this stuff out in one way or another if it's Pixar related. I don't know.
Cars is built in. Yeah, Cars is built in as a license in itself. Like it's a thing that's perennial. Even if you think the movies are shit, it doesn't matter because the toys, they're cars. Kids love cars. I had a huge car collection, which my brother got and is probably in the attic. And someday we'll have to take that out and watch the 4-year-old be like, "Oh my God, cars!"
You mentioned Cars, and I'll mention real Cars, as that was one of the other things that we saw at Mattel, is that they had some really nice Hot Wheel models available.
They have F1 license.
Yep,
So
exactly. Yeah, and
yeah.
they're going all out on this stuff. Their sculpts have just gotten better and better, and of course they obviously still have the tracks and whatnot, and they have a Formula One track that you can run either those cars or your own Hot Wheel cars on as part of the fun. So that's
Yeah, one thing I did notice, I mean, since you have the picture of the track up, was that people might remember a few years ago, t Hot Wheels had the Hot Wheels AI, which was going to have little NFC chips in all the
yes,
cars,
yep.
so that you could like keep track of how fast it was going.
Hmm.
And I've definitely seen a retreat away from tech-oriented uh, products like that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, usually there's always like remote control cars, the AR, AI, like all kinds of stuff, and they didn't really have a lot of that. Part of that is because what's his? Okay, see, I got to look it up. But no, they used to have a chief technology officer who would push that kind of products.
Hmm.
Yeah, Sven Gerjets.
There you go.
He joined as EVP and CTO in 2017. Yeah, I love that I could just Google it, and it's not even, I'm not even using the AI summary
Yeah,
here.
just
I'm using
straight
an
up.
action, yeah, just an article written by a human being because
Yeah.
human beings are the best,
Yep.
sort of.
I
But
mean, it depends. Not every human being, just most of them. Yeah.
yeah, but so Sven definitely shepherded like a lot of tech-based toys and
Hmm.
trying to like bring the company further into that, but
Yeah.
none of it ever really seemed to take off. Like I remember one year I saw this Barbie like hologram thing that they
Mhm.
were showing. Like it was like a interactive Barbie hologram, and that never actually came to market.
Right.
Or there was one year they showed off they brought back the Thing-O-Matic. You might remember the Thing-O-Matic, make
Yes.
like little creepy crawlies in a
Hmm.
little machine.
Yeah, I remember.
Except it was just a full-fledged 3D printer,
Okay.
and it was going to be $200. And I guess they couldn't figure out how to mass produce it for $200, so it never came
Oh,
out.
boy. Lovely.
Which
Yeah.
is a shame because that really could have been a game changer.
Well, but that's another problem that you throw in there right there is that people who are buying these Hot Wheels don't want to spend more money on something just to get extra unnecessary technology thrown in there for good measure. Like it's cool to be able to track your speed, but like most of these people aren't really doing that with the Hot Wheels. They just
Well,
want to
I
race.
think it's more of a, yeah, I think it's an age thing too
Yeah.
because Hot Wheels is kind of like it's the toy you buy your kid after you go to the dentist.
Hmm.
Like you just buy one to get them to shut up.
Yeah.
And you've ever dealt with a toddler, they bring that stuff everywhere.
Yes.
They will have one car in one hand and a car in the other hand, and you're like, "Hey, could you tie your shoes?" And they're like, "No," because they're not going to let go of the
Hmm.
cars.
Yep.
But by the end of the day, at least one of those is going to be missing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna happen. That's
Yeah,
definitely.
so you don't want to spend $6 when it's something that's going to be gone by the end of the day when you can just spend $1 instead.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I think they're usually $1.50.
Yeah,
When I bought
something like that.
the
Yeah.
last time I bought one was at Kmart. It was $1.50.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I do. If I see a car I like, I'll be like, "Ooh, fun!" And I'll buy it. Yeah.
Some other quick things of note, because we are a comic book podcast. I will mention that the Super Friends line has some awesome Superman robots that you could put the Superman into, plus some other DC characters also have theirs as well. There were some cool dinosaur things that they threw in for good measure because, of course, dinosaurs sell, and they've got a bunch of different lines of different products and whatnot. But the Joker and Batman Super Friends mechs were, I think, probably my favorite of the bunch outside of the Superman one that I'm showing here because it's Batman and he's giant and in a mech versus Joker has a mech for some reason, so sure, why not?
Because kids love mechs, and you put the figures inside the mechs. Like, I mean, it makes sense in a certain way. I'm not going to say it makes complete sense,
Yeah.
but from a toy perspective, we saw these fun Jurassic Park toys.
Oh yes, yes, yeah. No, they were awesome, and all the Jurassic Park toys that we saw were like leaps and bounds above most of the Jurassic Park stuff that I've seen in recent memory, which clearly means I haven't been paying enough attention. But full motion dinosaurs. There was a dinosaur that hatched. That wasn't Mattel, right? That was I think that was one of the other companies that had
The hatching one was Spin Master.
That's what it was. Yes,
So both Mattel and Spin Master seem to have Jurassic Park licenses tied
yes.
into the new movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting to me to see different companies have similar licenses because a lot of the time when you do licenses, you want them to be very distinct.
Yep. Yeah, and but they are doing very different things. Like here at the Spin Master booth, here's the picture that I took of the hatching dinosaur. I think you were the one who asked if it was the same material that's used in Hatchimals, and they were like, "Shut up!" But at the same time, it's the same material used in Hatchimals. Like there really aren't a lot of ways that you can do this sort of hatching egg thing, and clearly they're just repurposing that for dinosaurs this time around.
Yeah, see, I have a video also of that.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Hatching.
Take this piece off. Oh, we have gross, gooey membrane material. And there you get to see him for the first time.
Guts and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah. But now those of you watching the video have a clear view of what it actually looks like and sounds like when the dinosaur is hatching, and that was in general a pretty cool process. So, yep.
Yeah, no, that's one of the other trends that we've seen in toys. I mean, again, you have things like unboxing videos.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now you have toy makers building that directly into the toy design.
Yeah.
Like you'll have toys that'll have wrapper upon wrapper, individually wrapped pieces, and the inside will look just as nice as the outside because they know there might be kids unboxing stuff on social media.
Yep.
Hatching toys like Hatchimals and this dinosaur are basically the same thing. Like they're making opening it part of the play process.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I have mixed feelings on this because then what do you do once the thing is unboxed? Is it fun to play with once you finish unboxing it? And I know some of the parents listening to this are probably like, no, it's not. And I regret every cent I spent.
But it's fun while it's happening, at least. Like I remember that there was a kind of these like chalk eggs that you could basically break down until a dinosaur fossil is underneath it. So like you're literally hammering and chiseling until eventually you get to the dinosaur inside of the egg. It's really cool. It's just do it outside with your kid because you're going to get chalk literally everywhere in the process. Otherwise, fun experience one way or the other for the kid. They're not going to care once the fossil is out. I guarantee you, it's the whole process of actually revealing the fossil that's the fun part. And then there just happens to be a fossil at the end, unless they're really into dinosaurs that way. Spin Masters also had DC stuff, by the way. I completely forgot about that. Talk about dual licenses. They had the Batman Ninja Strike line of toys. So very different style here within a very different genre, ninja style Batman. But there's also a freaking Gorilla Grodd included in there with a nice Japanese style Joker and Robin and Batman in there for good measure.
Yeah,
so,
Robin and Joker have top knots.
Yes, they do.
This is the most 90s goddamn shit I've seen in a while.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's crazy what they're going for with this, but at the same time I completely understand it because ninjas sell and that's just going to continue to happen one way or the other. Well, I'm trying to think of some of the other cool stuff at Spin Masters. I mean, they had the How to Train Your Dragon stuff.
Yeah, for the live action movie because
yes.
this is a thing that our society really needed. Apparently, I have the picture of that one.
Yeah, and I have a picture of you with the dragon. So, yeah.
Yeah, just if you got something better where you can actually see the toy, that'd be great. But the toothless one of the toothless toys they're selling has sensors in it, so it knows when it's being petted.
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
is always nice. Like there's a lot of a trend. It's weird to talk about trends that have been going on for years. I mean, is it really a trend anymore at that point? But a lot of toys that I would traditionally say were marketed at boys are getting more and more of the features that you normally put in toys for girls.
Yes.
Like they call it like nurturing toys. The fact that you can get this dragon toy and pet it and it reacts, and that's an action that you normally see in girls' toys. And I think this is great. One, to get boys to do more nurturing stuff, but also to be like, yeah, this toy is actually for girls too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But that also, I mean, that really just goes with the trend that toys should always kind of be for anybody. When you think about it, like, sure, there's going to be, quote unquote girly toys that are meant for girls, and the boys' toys are more sports based or whatever. But there's going to be like evergreen stuff like How to Train Your Dragon that I feel like really does have as much appeal for boys or girls in the end, and to not embrace that would just be silly.
It's weird to have these gender divides, considering, yeah, like How to Train Your Dragon, yes, your main character, your main dragon are male, but then they have female characters like Ingrid and the white dragon whose name I forgot. I'm sure someone's screaming at the thing right now. Isn't it called something like Moonlight or whatever?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I mean, the big example of what people think of as like a neutral toy is Lego, and somehow Lego kind of drifted over to the boys' side of things, and it's kind of awful. A lot of it does come down to misogyny, the fact that if a toy is marketed at boys, girls will still play with it, but if it's marketed at girls, the boys won't play with it. And even if the boys want to play with it, their parents will be like, "No, you can't. That's a girl's toy." I mean, I've heard so many of those stories, and again, we could do a whole podcast episode about that too.
Yeah, like I have here on display. When we were at the Lego booth, they had the Guardians of the Galaxy Milano, and that's for either gender. Like, there's going to be fans of Guardians of the Galaxy that are male or female, but I guarantee you they are marketing this mostly towards boys because Guardians of the Galaxy, manly, rawr,
it's the action figure aisle is kind of what started the infestation, if I may call it that. Mm-hmm. See, now I think we're just talking about general like toy trends in history. Because like Lego was neutral until they started doing the licensed stuff.
Sure.
And some people will be like, oh, the licensed stuff sucks. I remember when Legos were about imagination, which is ridiculous because you buy a kid a licensed set. Yes, they will build the thing on the box, but then they will take it apart and build something else.
Of course.
Their imagination is fine. But the thing is, because of the licensed stuff, Lego drifted more towards the male side of the aisle, which is why we ended up with, like Ian put it on the screen here, is now you have Lego Friends.
Yep.
Which have these slightly bigger figurines because apparently girls really hated the normal minifigs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a Wicked set that we saw, which I think is already out. Lego did not really have any announcements.
No, not really. Yeah.
Like Lego didn't have a closed off booth, and they stopped doing that. They didn't have that in 2023 either. They used to have a very closed off booth. Mm-hmm. Lego also used to have a lot of tech stuff because they were doing Hidden Side, which was like AR. Toys, which I thought was cool because the Hidden Side, what was cool about it is you would build the set and then you take out the phone and you open up the Hidden Side app and you point it at the set. It would recognize the built set, based on the shape and everything. And then it would start to like populate it with like ghosts and stuff. And then you could play a little game, fighting the ghost on your phone,
cool.
which is, it was a nice little like hybrid thing. They were trying, like AR was huge a few years ago. I would say that trend seems to have faded away. Now we're seeing more leaning towards physical objects. Honestly, I think it's just a backlash, not just the screens, that we've become more screen oriented over the past 15 years, but like the pandemic, we spent all our time staring at screens and now nobody wants to look at a goddamn screen anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Take it from the guy who works in front of a screen, podcasts in front of a screen. It's nice to just get outside every now and then and remind myself that the real world exists. It's helpful. It really is. And the Batmobile here, what is it? Bat Cycle, I guess.
It's a Bat Cycle. He's saying Batmobile because there's a product right below the image that says Batmobile because there's another thing. But this is like the Bat Cycle, basically.
Yeah. And this one, talk about moving parts, is definitely the type of, Lego build that you're going to be able to, move around and get action out of. But I don't think it has any sort of, app compatibility like you're talking about. I think it's just a straight up bike in the end. Might be motorized, but it's not like, you can only control it with your phone or that sort of thing like that.
Yeah, no, those toys don't have a lot of life in them. For starters, if you need the app, you're gonna need to have the phone, and the app needs to be supported. Nobody wants to support an app for that long.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then once the app is no longer being supported, congratulations, you have a brick. Enjoy your brick, because that's what you're left with in the end. Lego did have a cool, 1966 style Batmobile. That was the thing that I was tripping over my words with the Bat Cycle. That's available. That's really awesome. But that has also been out since October of this past year, so it was not a reveal or anything. It's just really cool, and I'm glad that it exists, because that is really fun build.
Yeah, Lego's definitely gone after the kidult sector, but they're not even using the word kidult. They just outright say we're making sets for adults.
Oh yeah,
we know adults like them, and the sets are very different from their kid-oriented set, from their play line, as they would call it.
Yes,
like they have the flowers. Everybody, is probably a lot of the people listening to this have a Lego botanical set in their home. If you don't, you probably should. They're flowers you never have to water, and you get to build them. It's cool. My mom has a set. I bought one for my dad. I mean, I actually do not have one here, which is fine because I don't need more crap. I have plenty of crap.
Here's a picture of me sitting on a bench next to a bunch of Lego flowers, and that's a good example of that. They also had a Lego squirrel that was built, but I'm pretty sure that that's not actually available as a set. If it was, I would probably own it because it was really, really cute.
Oh, wasn't it you saw a Lego pigeon, you took a photo, you sent it to your girlfriend. It's in the photo, yeah.
Yes.
There's this Lego pigeon and his girlfriend's like, buy me one.
Yep. It was really cool. It's just, I guarantee you it exists for this event. I don't think there's an actual Lego pigeon out there. If there is, however, I may be buying that eventually because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we move on from Spin Master, I did want to bring up the dragon. I think you.
Oh yes, no, absolutely. Yeah, we've kind of been meandering all over the place, but this dragon was actually kind of one of my coolest finds of the entire convention, just for the story behind it more than anything else.
Yeah, so you might have seen on social media, like people were building these little dragons out of 3D printed parts and like clicking them together, and they're very much like chainmail almost.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They did actually give us samples of them. Here, I'll give you some nice ASMR.
Ooh.
Yeah, hopefully that makes it through, because sometimes the noises don't.
Yeah.
I pre-unboxed half of it because it was in like 3 different layers of plastic. Yeah, here's some more noise.
Ooh. Yeah, not a lot of it comes out due to the noise canceling in Zoom itself, but yeah. So, oh wow, oh that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love the color on that one actually.
Yeah. So mine is I got a gold and green one. Honestly, I would have preferred like purple because I'm a girl. I'm not really a girl, but I'm a girl. What's neat is like they can actually be pulled apart.
Mm-hmm.
And popped back together.
Yep.
The story they told us basically was the fact that it went viral on, the old internets, on TikTok mostly. And so they basically went into the lab and tried to figure out how to make this. What did they say? 6 months?
I think it might have even been 5 months, to be honest with you. Walmart specifically went to them and was like, how fast can you make this? And they were like, okay, let's try to get it out there as fast as possible. And they got it out on the market within 5 months, and it is selling gangbusters, and for good reason. It feels good in the hand. Like, it actually feels like a well put together product. and the eggs that they come in are super fun and cute. So I can 100% understand why something like this, made it to the market the way it did. They're called Crystal Lynx Dragons, and honestly, brilliant that they got it out as fast as they did, and brilliant that the product is as good as it is. So, good on Spin Masters for getting it out there nice and quick. And I think it's in other retailers now, but again, originally Walmart were the guys that were like, how fast can you make this work? Because TikTok and
yeah, that's just it. Is that first off, see how much of that gets canceled out?
Absolutely, I heard nothing. I heard absolutely nothing.
Damn you, technology.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, no, there's 10 to collect, and the egg usually gives you a hint of what color will be inside, and 2 of them actually have twins. Like you'll open it up and you'll have 2 smaller dragons inside.
Yep.
Not that we got those, but
Yeah. Well, I haven't opened mine yet, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe I got lucky.
Maybe.
It is blind box, which is another thing too. Like, I mean, they are getting you to want to buy as many dragons as you could possibly, fit in there in the end. But just the overall really cool product that I think makes a lot of sense, and it's small. And I remember it's also in the relatively inexpensive range, as well as a collectible or just a fun thing to play around with and fidget toy with.
I think it might have been 10. If not 10, it was 15.
It was relatively cheap. I'm gonna look it up right now what the actual MSRP is. But yeah, you are right. It really wasn't that expensive in the end. I'm clicking on it right now. 15. So
yeah, see, called it.
Yep.
Also, you crack me up every time you say, "What's the MSRP? What's the MSRP? What's the MSRP?"
I want to know how much something costs, man. And I watch way too much Home Shopping Network and stuff when I was younger, so MSRP got completely drilled into my head as something that's said way too often. The other thing that was really cool was the that snack to go vending machine.
Which one? Are you talking about the Melissa and Doug?
Melissa and Doug, yeah. Yep.
So the Melissa and Doug is actually an old product. I put it in the Engadget holiday gift guide for 2024. Yep. And it's basically a little wooden vending machine, and there's like little toy snacks in all the different slots. It looks just like a vending machine, but it's made out of wood. And you have the little plastic coins, and you put them in. They'll only fit in the specific slots, and then you push the button for the snack you want to drop down. And I put this in the gift guide mostly because I saw bringing back to TikTok, was that a mother had pointed out you could put real snacks in there, and then when it's snack time, you just give the kid the coin, and then they go and pick their own snack.
Brilliant, honestly.
Yeah.
Super smart idea. And it's just a super fun toy, like something that I wish I had when I was a kid, because I would have played with that incessantly. I know myself.
Yeah, I mean, it seems cool. It also seems like one of those things that works best in an environment where you have more than one kid.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of toys that I feel like are very deluxe. Like, I saw a toy, I don't think we saw it at the show, but I've seen it online, was a toy dim sum cart. It's like a little cart. It has all the little trays. And I'm like, that doesn't really work if you're an only child. But if, like, at a daycare, I could see that doing gangbusters.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just made me think of Raph. So I will post one picture for Raph of something we saw that I know is probably on his, if he doesn't already own it, he's already on his Give to Me list.
Yes. And now it's time for Make Raph Spend More Money. These cute Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle plushies are just adorable.
Yeah, I think that was the Squishable booth.
Yes, the Squishable.
Or no, it was that or no, it wasn't T-Turtle. Was it? Was it T-Turtle? Maybe.
Actually, maybe it was T-Turtle. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. So
it was one or the other, definitely.
Oh yeah, no, it's Plushiverse, because if I remember correctly, they gave us these little samples.
Yes.
Of their reversible plushies. I have a strawberry here.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that I saw that I know Raph probably needs are these little reversible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, And one side has them, as we know them with their bandanas. The Raph figure specifically has fire in his eyes, to reflect the fire in his heart.
Of
And
course.
then when you reverse them, they're just normal turtles with ooze on their head. And they all look really sad, except for Raph. Raph is angry that he has ooze on his head.
Yeah, I mean that is something that Raph would be upset about. We're not talking about Raph Suhu. We're talking about the turtle here. You see,
I'm sure Raph would be upset if you put radioactive ooze on his head too.
no, because then he'd be like, "I'm gonna be a turtle, Reaganomics." That's probably what I assume that Raph would say because he says things like that, and then he'd laugh a lot.
I feel like you need a button that you push that's just Raph's laugh.
Yeah, it's kind of ingrained in my brain after all these years, but yes, you're right. I should just create a soundboard for the show and just have that on the ready whenever necessary. You want to talk about the fart monsters?
I don't have the photos of that one, but
I most definitely do.
I mean, there were a lot of things. There was a whole booth where all of the toys were scented, but their major product, and they had a giant sculpture of it, are these whoopee cushions that are inside plushes. And they're self-inflating whoopee cushions, so you don't have to actually blow them up or anything. You just punch down on it, and it makes the sound for you.
Yep. Brilliant, and for every single adult or child, basically. And they smell nice. They smell nice. They don't smell like fart, but they're still whoopee cushions, and that's what matters in the end, isn't it? I think that's what matters in the end.
I think plushes are having a moment, or maybe I just never noticed the plushes before, because when you're writing for a tech blog, you don't really look at plushes very often. But yeah, we saw a lot of reversible plushes. We saw farting plushes.
Oh my God, so many farting plushes.
We saw what Ian's thing. I know one of your favorite things were I don't know if there's a term for them, but the multi-part plushes, where it might be like the Doritos bag is a plush, and then it zips open, and then there are little plush Doritos inside.
Yeah, I definitely have pictures of those, and I will try to find them right now. I'm trying to find those damn plushies with the Cheetos, because I know. Oh, here we go. Okay, all right. So I did get a picture of the Haribo ones, which I accidentally took video of. So let me take the one that's not video. There we go.
Oh, I actually do have a picture of the booth if you wanted that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, here's the Haribo ones in general, just so you can take a look at what they are. And yeah, you're right. They're basically multi plushies. So like if you open up the bag of Haribo, you have a whole bunch of different Haribo gummy plushies inside that you can individually take out and then put back in for storage. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's not a new concept. I always love seeing it though, and what I feel like I'm seeing more of, and this booth was called I Scream. What I feel like I'm seeing more of is just licensed ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up my photo. The licenses we saw at the booth. See, like Lunchables, Kraft mac and cheese,
Doritos.
Yeah. No, it wasn't the Doritos. Was it the Doritos or it was the Cheez-Its that made you laugh hysterically?
It was the Cheez-Its because each one individually crunched. So like if you grabbed one of the Cheetos from inside the bag and you put it in your hand, it would make a crunching noise, which was again very reminiscent to an actual Cheeto. So the Cheez-Its, that is. So
yeah, but I feel like this is part more of the, I hate saying kidults trend, but more of older people buying toys, because a multi-part plush is not a thing you buy a kid, because a kid loses pieces like no tomorrow. And
absolutely.
An empty plush Doritos bag is no fun. A plush Doritos bag filled with little cloth Doritos, that is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So and I've seen these on social, like people will do like sort of unboxings, which are weird because it's like just opening up the plush and pulling out all the stuff inside.
Yep.
It does make you wonder how it works in Toy Story rules. It's like, is the bag itself sentient or just the little plush Doritos inside?
I really don't want to think about that too hard, but the answer is the individual plushes, I think, are the sentient ones. Definitely. I think the bag itself is the carrier, and then everything else is sentient. That's probably the case. Oh my God, you found the cursed Care Bear.
Oh, I didn't realize I was still screen sharing, but hey, yeah, we went to Basic Fun and we walked around Basic Fun. I love Basic Fun. They're one of those brands that seems really cheap and chintzy, but they have leveled up so much. If somebody from Basic Fun's listening to this, this is nothing but praise. I think you guys
Mhm.
are doing a great job.
Yep.
But yeah, they have these Care Bear like crossed with Stranger Things toys.
Yep.
So they have Grumpy Bear as the was it the Demogorgon?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and then they have Cheer Bear as 11, dressed as 11. That was fun. I mean, there's nothing really tech there. I don't think we saw anything that was like comic book based. And because Ian has this radar in his head, we ended up in a conversation with a dude who used to live in Coney Island. I think it was.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, he definitely grew up in Brooklyn. He used to live like down the block from where my mother lives, and like we basically just nerded out about random, days gone by Brooklyn stuff, and in my day for about 30 solid minutes. So that was fun.
It wasn't 30 minutes, but it was a
It felt
while.
like
It was
30 minutes.
Yeah, it was funny because it's like, Jordans. Oh, I miss Jordans, And I'm sitting there going, oh God, I don't want to hear about Jordans again.
Hey. Well, that just because you mentioned it, Jordan's Lobster Dock, Sheepshead Bay. I miss you very, very much. Your fried clam sandwiches will be with me for all time, even if you are now gone. So
You are now in the great mall in the sky.
yes, exactly. Yeah, along with half the shit in Kings Plaza.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're two New Yorkers. One of my favorite things, and I will say this over and over again, but I thought it was there's a great quote from Colson Whitehead where he says, you're a New Yorker when the New York of then is more real than the New York of now.
Very true. Very true.
And I love that quote because that's exactly what it is. It's like a real New Yorker will be like, I remember when that was in a walk-in place. That was Chili's and chocolate.
Chilies and
See,
chocolate.
I knew that would trigger him. That triggers him every time.
Let's also talk a little bit about we just happened to just walk by the booth, so this will be like 2 seconds. But
Yeah, I'll stop sharing.
Carrera and their Mario Kart go-karts, essentially. They had a whole bunch of Mario Kart toys that you can race around, and you can race them around the track. You can also there was also ones that are just closer to just regular toys, but they're fully available. And if you want to basically have your Mario Kart in real life, this is as close to it as you're going to get.
I mean, there was also the Mario Kart Live. That
Yes.
was like 2 years ago. It wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
But what it is interesting that Carrera is a brand that doesn't really need to do licensed product. Like
Yeah.
they're a strong enough brand on their own. But I think, like everyone, they're starting to realize that pop culture is starting to just kind of eat everything.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that you want to connect with kids. You don't connect with them on car brands anymore. You have to connect with them on things like Mario Kart.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unless you're Hot Wheels or Matchbox, which already is ingrained as like that's the racing that you're going to get. This is what kids know, and this is what kids are going to be into because if you love Mario Kart, you're going to want to play it in real life. And here's an entire play set where you can race them around a track. So might as well give it a shot. The only thing it doesn't have is bananas.
Yeah, that's a real question. Like, why kids are getting away from realism? Because, like, when I was a kid, my dad would buy me Matchbox, not Hot Wheels, because Matchbox was sold at the local pharmacy. But he also preferred Matchbox because he thought of them as being higher quality. Which, as an adult, I realized that the reason why Matchbox feels higher quality than Hot Wheels is because Hot Wheels have to be very light. Because
Sure.
they have to go on the tracks.
Yep.
And Matchbox aren't meant to be thrown on the tracks. You can put them on the tracks, but they're not going to get very far because they're heavier.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to me because I always kind of hated Hot Wheels as a kid, not just because my dad, made me think that I had to neg on them, but also because the bottom of Matchbox cars always told you the make and model of the car. And Hot Wheels didn't, and that would drive me nuts because I don't drive. I'm 5. I don't know shit about cars. But that's how you learn about cars.
Right.
But we've definitely gotten away from that because, like, even the most popular Hot Wheels cars aren't established real world brands. They're things like the Bone Shaker.
Right.
Like, I had to explain this to you. I was like, yeah, that's the Bone Shaker. And you're like, what the hell's the Bone Shaker? And I was like, it's the most popular Hot Wheels car, Ian.
I wasn't really a Hot Wheels kid.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know it, I mean, if you have kids, you probably know what the Bone Shaker is, but it's basically like a hot rod, like the old fashioned like Archie type of hot rods, and it's got like the pipes coming out the back, but it has a bone theme to it because, it's badass, makes your bones shake. I don't know. Don't ask me to explain toys.
No. That's exactly what it does. It makes your bones shake. That's
Yeah. You could anything with the kid. You could just end your description with
and
the kid.
They'll know.
It's like when you say, "Could you zhush that up?"
Yeah. Exactly. It's the same general process. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, we that was kind of it for day one, at least from me. The only other thing that really caught my eye was at one point we were touring a booth that had old school WWE WrestleFest arcade cabinets of multiple varieties, everything from like small to straight up. This is a cabinet.
I think that was also Basic Fun, actually.
Yes, it was Basic Fun. You're absolutely right. Yeah, there's the Basic Fun logo on it. But they had that. They had an Atari one that had a whole bunch of old Atari games, and it just it straight up plays like the old WWE WrestleFest arcade game from my youth. And you can have anything from a smaller one that's easier to fit in a room to, if you have a garage and you have room for a full arcade cabinet, you could get that too while you're at it. So,
yeah, they have different sizes now, which is nice because they were doing these half-size machines. And if you wanted, you could buy like risers for them, but that's just a pain in the ass. I think Arcade 1-Up is the one that was selling the risers.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, people want to actually play them like they're real arcade machines. So give me a stand-up machine anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that was kind of it for day one, outside of some other random stuff like some the handbook for the recently deceased and stuff like that we happen to pass.
Yeah, and the free donuts.
Yes, and the free donuts. Yes, the day ended with us just happening to be, because I was hungry, so I kind of just wanted to see like how much the tacos were. And as we're walking by in the back, the woman was like, "Hey, we're giving away free donuts because it's the end of the day. So how many you want?" I was like, "As many as you can put in the box." Okay, sure. And yeah, we both walked away with like 5 donuts apiece. So. That's awesome.
Yeah, these are donuts that would normally cost. I mean, you might think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Like these are donuts that normally cost like $5 because they're like gourmet donuts with like specialty toppings.
Yep.
Like I have the picture has like it's like raspberry with like a slice of like meringue on it.
Oh yeah.
I have a mango one with pistachio chips.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, and like I think it was, I don't remember what the other raspberry one is, if it was like raspberry vanilla or whatever, but I have a creme brulee and Boston cream.
And if you want to know how to make somebody hungry, let's just talk about donuts long enough, and then lo and behold, it doesn't matter if you've already eaten dinner, you're going to start getting hungry for some damn donuts. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
What day? Well, actually, yeah, you know what? The Queen's Monopoly. Let's mention that. Because that also ties into we both walked away with copies of Top Trumps, which, if you haven't heard of it, is
you are not British.
Yeah, exactly. It was described to us as the Uno of the UK.
No, that's how I described it to you.
There you go.
I was like, it's Top Trumps. And you're like, what's Top Trumps? And I said, you know how big Uno is over here? And you're like, yeah. And I said, well, that's Top Trumps in the UK.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like when we went to the booth and we said to the people, they're like, yeah, that sounds about right. Basically, because both games will destroy friendships and family relations.
Yep. 100% the case. Yeah. The manufacturers of this are Winning Moves International Limited, and they are trying to get Top Trumps into more U.S. hands. So you will probably start seeing it in, more places like, Walmart, Target, and stuff like that if you haven't already. But I'm looking forward to giving it a shot because, like, I've never played it before, and for something to be that huge in the UK and really not have a presence here. I know that each country is going to have their favorite games. It's just funny that I'd literally never heard of it until we were walking around. Yeah,
maybe it's because I spend a lot of time in Board Game Geek.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. People talk about the classics a lot, usually with derision. Like you've never seen people hate a thing as much as Board Game Geek hates Candyland.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Good Lord, they hate Candyland. And I understand it, but then people will come out and defend it. And I actually agree with the defenders that the point of Candyland is to teach little kids how to play a game. It's not really meant to be a good gaming experience in itself.
Yeah, and the guys who were putting this out also had the Monopoly Queens edition, which is Queens, New York, and it is completely sold out. Like pretty much the minute that they manufactured it, probably every single person who's ever lived in Queens or lives in Queens gobbled it up, and it was one of the fastest selling versions of Monopoly that they've had in years. And it comes with a free pack of Top Trumps. So if you manage to get it and you're in Queens, or you just want to get a New York-esque edition of Monopoly rather than the Atlantic City version that most people already know, this is going to have like those Queens landmarks thrown in there for good measure. I think they also said that they did a Brooklyn one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember the Brooklyn one. I think having things for Queens it's a good idea because Queens has a large population. Queens doesn't get as much love outside of the city as like Manhattan and Brooklyn do as brands. I mean, the fact that Brooklyn in itself is a brand now, which is just weird.
Oh yeah.
Nobody believes us when we were like, no, we're actually from there. We were actually born there.
Yeah.
And I guess talking about Monopoly, this is Ian's way of segueing us into day 2 when we went to Hasbro.
Yep. Yep. Hasbro, which was centered in the far, I guess you would say,
North. Yeah, on the north side.
The north side, yeah. So where Javits North is situated, they did not actually use the Javits North building in any way for Toy Fair. However, they used the full floor, which now extends into Javits North of the exhibit hall. And Hasbro was as far north as you could possibly go, and their booth was ginormous.
Yeah, usually Hasbro is off-site. If anybody listening to this has ever toured them, because they do things for influencers and social media. They used to be offsite at the Times Center, the Times Center being the New York Times building. They have a lot of event space on the first floor. You can actually go to events there. And I've been to the Hasbro, booth, whatever you want to call it, at the Times Center a bunch of times. And I know I'm saying times way too many times. But this time, they were in the convention center, which meant you actually had to have a badge. So that was an interesting choice because one of the reasons, the perks of not having it inside the Javits is that not everyone you invite has to get a badge.
Sure.
You can decide who attends your booth,
right?
As opposed to what was going on this year where, you have to get a Toy Fair badge and then you still have to be approved for a tour of the Hasbro booth.
Correct.
And mind you, yes, you do. It's completely closed off. You do need the tour. As Ian has said, he got rejected, and so I let him in on my tour.
She was like, "I got you, fam," and then and then that was it. But really, if you ever run into a situation like that, whether it be Toy Fair or whether it be anywhere else where someone has already secured it, most places, if you say, "Oh, is it okay if I bring in blank?" will wind up saying yes, because it's not necessarily the amount of people they're letting in; it's the amount of people that they have to tour you around. So it is all dependent on slots and who they have to show you to the different booths that are inside of the booth itself. So keep that in mind if you ever run into a situation like that.
It helps to be part of a group if anything, because again, it's all about personnel. It's like who they have available. If you're all scrubs, they might all look at you, but it's fine. So I will show you one of my highlights of the show. I feel like if we're going to say about the things that really, really popped out at us looking at it, and I was not expecting this, but one of my highlights of the show is that they redesigned Operation.
Yes.
And it's the same basic game. You have what's his face, Sam. What is his name? Surgery Sam, something like that.
Something
Cadaver
like
Sam. Cadaver Sam. It's something
I think that
awful.
might be it.
No, it's not Cadaver because he's not dead. Yeah.
All right, you know what? I will look it up right now, and we will.
They have not redesigned Sam. He looks like he has for the past 10, 15 years. They redesigned the board now that it is foldable.
Cavity Sam.
Yeah, see, that's why I thought Cadaver Sam. And I was listening. It's funny, as I was listening to another podcast, and they were like, "What is the name of the guy? Cadaver Sam?" So that is now stuck in my head.
There you go.
But they redesigned the board so now it folds in half, and when it's folded up, it has like a handle, and you carry it. It looks like a little one of those little crash carts, the little cases rather. You know the why am I? You know, like the CPR kits.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. No,
It's a crash kit. It's a crash kit.
And I said at the time, and it really does. It's reminiscent of the travel editions of board games that I had when I was a kid. So like I had Travel Battleship, and it folded up in a very similar fashion so that you could take it anywhere you want. And this is essentially what they've done with Operation here. It's the base model of Operation now. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
there's nothing. It's not that. Yeah, they didn't change the game. It's not revolutionary. It's just the fact that it's more portable, and I think it was done in a very clever way, and that really stuck out to me.
Absolutely.
And I'm really happy that they did that. I think it's very well thought out. And I mean, in general, that's one thing we've always noticed about Toy Fair. Like now that Ian, the newbie, definitely says like the vibe is really cool, and like people are really creative and coming up with cool ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And the version of the new version of the board, I totally dig. It's like, for any of you, purists, you might be, oh no, he has a cell phone attached to his hand that you need to remove. Like, well, yeah, but also it modernized it while at the same time still making the game as fun as it ever was.
They didn't remove anything when they added new parts.
Exactly.
Like, that's all that really matters. If I look, they still have Funny Bone, which is the hardest piece to remove. Everyone hates it.
Mm-hmm.
But they added, new things like the cell phone thing, like have to, remove it from his hand and all that. And I think that's a fun idea.
And it will still shock you and rumble like it always did. So
yeah, well, it made the table shake, and I actually was like, "Why is the table moving?" And the lady was like, "I'm sorry," and I'm like, "No, it's fine. What is going on?" Like,
oh my God.
We all kind of just like had this moment of freak out. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Water on the knee operation. It's still the case.
Water on the knee operation. Yeah.
And they had 800 different versions of Monopoly, like they always do. Pokemon Monopoly was on display. What really interested me are the add-ons to the existing version of Monopoly, like essentially, modules that you could buy to make your base edition of Monopoly that much more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's in general. Like, I own a book called I think it was the board game remix kit that I bought years ago, and it was a way of like making new rules out of old games, and that's something I actually really like to do. Like when I go on itch.io and I release different little remixes of like card games I own, it's kind of nice to see. It's weird to say nice because I'm sure your wallet is crying, but it is nice to see companies realize that you can extend the lifespan of a product.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like you don't need to sell people a whole new game, and especially with the economy the way it is right now, especially now, and it is, as we're recording this, it is March 2025. People aren't going to want to spend as much money.
Sure.
So it's really appealing to people to be like, okay, you already own Monopoly. Here's an expansion we're selling you for, what was it, like $10, $15?
Yeah.
That will give you a whole new play mode. It'll make it more entertaining. One of the expansions actually just codifies the free parking rule that everybody has, where all the money that is paid goes to free parking, and if you land on free parking, you get that jackpot. But they've added a few more rules about it. They've codified it because I mean, she didn't say this, but I will say this as someone who hangs out on Board Game Geek a lot.
Yeah.
The free parking house rule breaks the game.
Oh, absolutely.
It's because the game is designed in a way to be finite. There is no reason you should be playing Monopoly for 6 hours.
And everybody does. Everybody winds up playing for 6 hours because they have house rules, and it winds up taking freaking forever to do that.
Yeah. People think they can reinvent a game, and they don't actually understand how they're designed.
Yeah. But
I still don't like Monopoly, but it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, when played right, Monopoly can be a lot of fun. And there was even a version that we played a little bit of that had an app attached to it called Monopoly App Banking.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed on that because it was weird because to save money, to scan the cards into the app, they used the camera and the code, like to use QR codes.
Yeah.
When in the past Hasbro has done things like RFID cards, but I could see it would be cheaper to just do the camera, but it
Sure.
feels like it's actually slows down play too much for my taste.
No, I could see that because you got to go one by one, and the camera was a little bit finicky on the tablet that they were using, so like it had to be lined up just right in order for it to scan and all that. So that could be a definite problem. However, it also, as usual, depends on what device you're using and how good of a camera it is. This is just like a chintzy Android tablet that they were using for this particular instance, but not everybody's going to have a great camera to work with if they're going to be using this. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I admire them trying something new. I'm just always it feels like a step back from other things I've seen from the company.
Yeah.
Like again, for me, and I'm sure for Ian, because he owns it too, the high watermark is Drop Mix.
Drop Mix. Yeah.
Yeah, pour 40 out for our homie.
Drop Mix was one of those things that had such high potential, but unfortunately, especially with newer iPads, Drop Mix ain't even really going to work anymore because the
app is not supported because that's always going to be number one. Is the app it even said in the instructions?
Yeah.
It came out in September 2017,
Yep.
and I think it said it wasn't going to be supported after 2019. So you've already got a baked-in expiration date.
Oh yeah.
On top of that, the music licenses. I'm sure they're expired by now. I wasn't sure when they were going to expire in the game. And mind you, you were buying these packs. I think what lessened the blow on that cost, though, was that you actually were buying physical cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you could collect the cards. And that's why I haven't got rid of my Drop Mix, because I really like the cards. They're very pretty.
My particular copy of Drop Mix, as well as a bunch of the expansions that I bought, were quite literally the last things that I bought at Toys R Us before the Toys R Us in the Bay Plaza Mall in the Bronx closed. So that was my last Toys R Us purchase was Drop Mix.
Yeah. For people who have no idea what we're talking about, Drop Mix was a game made by Harmonix. Harmonix are the guys who originally gave us Guitar Hero and then Rock Band. And a bunch of other games that came out. Amplitude was them. Fuser is the one I was trying to remember. And what it was is like you would buy these cards, or it also came with cards, and you put them on a special board, and it would read what card you had put on there, and the cards represented like sections of songs.
Yeah.
And then you would put different cards down, and the software would mix those songs together.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted, I'm just going to think like random songs. You wanted like Blinding Lights mixed with, I don't know, Cardi B's, Bodak Yellow, you could make that happen.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And there was a game built around it, but you could just kind of freestyle it. And it was like, it's a real shame. They did try to recreate it with Fuser, but Fuser didn't have the physical cards.
Yes.
But also that ultimately just wasn't supported. And Harmonix is like kind of a non-entity right now, if I remember correctly.
Unfortunately, the case. Yeah. I know. I'm not sure if they ever actually filed for bankruptcy, but they're kind of in hibernation at the moment.
Well, they're not full hibernation and I don't even have to look this up, because the last thing I remember from Harmonix is that they have that mode in Fortnite.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
That is also Fortnite Festival, which is basically Fuser, which was basically Drop Mix. So that's like the pedigree of that. But I still think Drop Mix was the best implementation of the formula.
Yeah.
Especially since I really just don't want to play Fortnite. But Fortnite has new modes in case you were like living in a cave, for the past 3 years.
And Rock Band did make a slight comeback, but the final DLC of Rock Band 4 was released on January 25th, 2024. And they're currently owned by Epic Games. So like
that's why the Fortnite,
Exactly. Yeah, obviously they're going to integrate it with Epic's biggest, IP and make that work. It's just, that's kind of all they're really doing at the moment is Fortnite stuff. Maybe they will eventually have the opportunity to work on new stuff, but not currently in the pipeline, unfortunately. So
yeah, that was a bummer. But anyway, more Hasbro.
Dungeons and Dragons had a huge presence at the booth. I'm
gonna share a photo.
Oh yeah, they had
I like this photo that I'm sharing because Ian's in it.
There you go.
It's Ian and the two representatives, and we're playing with the new like the starter kit that they
Yes.
announced. This was actually a new announcement.
Yes. Yep.
It was announced the week of, I guess, for Toy Fair. I mean, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you are familiar with the starter kits. They usually give you a starter adventure. They give you some dice.
Mhm.
I think they give you pre-made characters usually.
Yes.
The new starter set, it's not pre-made. I mean, you will still have an adventure that is pre-made for you, but the characters are going to be a little more freeform because now what you have is a board, a cardboard, a board made out of card stock. Uh, God damn it, English! Why you got to be like that? But you have a piece of card stock that has a class printed on it, and then it has slots on it where you're supposed to place like your weapon and like your different your armor, and you put them on the board directly.
Yep.
Yeah, it tells you what you need to do, and it lays out everything you need. Like, this is what you roll then, this is what you roll if you have this piece of equipment. And
Yeah.
you just lay it out in front of you, just like on a little mat, basically, instead
It
of having
really
a pre-made
does.
character.
It really
Yeah.
does make it a lot simpler for people, starting out. And also, they did mention that there will be integration with the D&D Beyond app as well. So if you want this, information not just in front of you in on paper, you can also integrate it into D&D and Beyond in one form or another. But it's a great way to get people interested and immediately playing, as opposed to the time and effort that it can sometimes take, even with pre-roll characters, to try to get newbies into D&D.
Yeah, well, the problem with the pre-rolled characters, yes, character creation is probably one of the hardest parts of
Yeah.
playing D&D, I've always found, which is why I love D&D Beyond, because I can pretty much, it just walks you through it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is when you get the pre-rolled character, you're like scanning the sheet. You might miss abilities you have. You don't understand what some of the stuff does. So the little boards that they give you now have just like the basics on them, and they tell you like what this does, and here's what we recommend for your character. They also give you a lot more leeway with creating a character.
Yeah. Which is
I've seen people fight against that. Not even because I've never run a D&D game, to be honest, but I've run other games. Like I ran Star Trek, and I gave everybody the pre-rolled characters, and like at least like two of the people were like, "No!" And I'm like, "We do not have time to custom make characters. We have to get this done in 3 hours. Don't be a little bitch."
Mhm. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that this was their main focus. There wasn't a lot on the quote unquote new version of Dungeons and Dragons on display.
We are still, it is weird because like the new version came out last year.
Yeah.
And we still only have, right now, we still have just the core books. The Monster Manual only came out a few weeks ago.
Yep.
I do have a copy of it. I just haven't actually cracked it open yet because I'm still reading the Dungeon Master's Guide.
There you go.
This is a little segue. Here's like Comic Timing Presents. Chris talks about D&D. When we do need to get Brandon, talking about it too.
Definitely.
But the thing is, they haven't really pushed that much new product. It was kind of weird that they were still churning out books, before the new system came out, but those books will still be compatible for the most part with the new stuff.
Yeah.
They did announce a new dragon anthology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, they didn't have that on display, did they?
I don't think they did. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of it, the new one that just came out. Dragons Delves.
Okay.
It's all dragon-based adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really looked into it much. The only thing that really caught my attention was that like the special cover is like gorgeous. I'm trying to pull it up here.
Yes.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up.
They only really like super duper duper focused on the starter set as opposed to anything 5e or otherwise related.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing: is one of the things that is really, really holding D&D back from expanding even further.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm talking about this like I am Chris Cox in charge of all of Hasbro, not as a normal D&D player who actually thinks it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's holding it back is that it still needs a dungeon master to run the games.
Yes.
So they are trying to make it easier for more, because they even said the starter kit is also to make it easier for the dungeon master to get started. If you've
Absolutely.
never run a game before, you open this box and everything in there is also laid out for you to make it super easy.
Yep.
Yeah, the Dungeon Delves is just it's the first, I guess, source book to come out, the first adventure to come out under the new D&D system, D&D
Nice.
2024. This is the I put on the screen is the local game store version,
Nice.
like psychedelic cover, because it does seem like they're going to be using a different art style for the new D&D version, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been the biggest block to have D&D expanding, is the fact that you still need a human being to run it, which is why there was like experimenting with things like, oh, maybe an AI dungeon master. Nobody wants that.
No. Nope.
A human person can barely keep up.
Literally nobody wants that, because it'll make even less sense in the end, because AI is not infallible, and AI will make stupid mistakes, and you do not want stupid mistakes when you're fighting monsters. Like, that's
It's not even that. It's like that more that AI would not understand when I say, "Hey, we're the Orc Brow Street Team, and we're here to give out free samples of beer."
Yes, or Orc Brow available at your D&D bar.
No, I was gonna say at finer establishments in Barovia.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
That was Ian's shitty beer that he misrolled on, and then he just proceeded to carry around this shitty beer for the rest of the campaign.
And it worked because it got a whole bunch of people stupidly drunk or disabled. So how about that? Yeah, I think the starter set is definitely the right direction for D&D, and I think that moving forward, simpler is better. And then for those who want it more advanced, they'll have the options. So yeah, definitely, like have both available for anybody who wants to give it a go, rather than spend their life on one campaign, which can also
well, Hasbro. I mean, besides that, they are trying to get more kids into it, so they have kids books.
Yeah.
Like the young adult readers and stuff, which I do get samples of. I didn't see any on. There probably were some on display. I just wasn't looking at them. But yeah, no, I think that was a positive experience. It was nice to get some hands on with that set and just to see it. And I should be getting a sample of it because I'm still on their press list for that stuff.
Yeah. They also had an assload of GI Joe, because duh, and the new figures are beautifully articulated and have that old school flair, while at the same time simultaneously feeling new. If you want something more akin to the GI Joes of old, they have that available, and they also have the sets that are definitely for the collector, which are way more articulated and way more expensive at that matter.
Yeah, but that is Hasbro in general, because it's not just GI Joe that they do that for. There's like kids toys and collector's toys for Transformers, for Star Wars, for Marvel, which we all saw in the booth. Like it took us forever to go through that booth. It was crazy.
They had a ton of shit, yeah. And speaking of Marvel, the Marvel stuff that they had on display, not just stuff for the new movie for Captain America, but also a bunch of X-Men Legends figures, that some of which surprised the hell out of me for the choices here. That black costume on Wolverine was something that existed during the Chuck Austin era, and they put out a figure for it, while at the same time X Factor era Cyclops, right before the launch of X-Men #1, Marrow, yay Marrow, like Marrow getting some love in there. Fabian Cortez, Nightcrawler, the Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, while he was a member of X-Force. Like, that's just even explaining that is something.
It's crazy, because they also had Age of Apocalypse Gambit, and then in the photo that Ian puts up, they also had Husk.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Generation X Husk in particular in her red Generation X garb.
Yeah.
And the Build-A-Figure, do you remember what the Build-A-Figure was? I'm trying to remember.
That looks like because it's in this image, Ian. It
Oh,
looks
yeah,
like
you're right.
Holocaust.
Yes, but you can't call him that. But yeah, it's they've tried to change his name like 9 times and it's never really stuck. But yes, it's Holocaust. And Hasbro just continues to do an excellent job with the Legends line because again, it wasn't always them. You know, Toy Biz started out the Legends line, and then obviously Toy Biz stopped being a thing, and Hasbro took it up from there. And
Yeah,
really,
they said it's an anniversary, I think, for the Build-A-Figure.
yes, it is. Yeah. And I think that the sculpts just keep getting better and better, but here is something that I have to point out for everybody because oh my freaking god, Rom Space Knight gets himself a Marvel Legends. I would have never thought. I would have never thought I would see the day because of the like forever. It took them forever to actually have Rom Space Knight or Micronauts be reissued at Marvel. Now there's collections available.
Yeah, it was because of the way the license worked out because it was tied into, I think, Transformers too much.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, and that and you know obviously Marvel and Hasbro were on good terms. So it would make sense that eventually you would get it. But yeah, straight up Marvel Legends ROM Space Knight figure available. That makes me super happy. And I hope that there's actually a chance of maybe getting new ROM or Micronauts stuff, licensed with Marvel in the future, as opposed to just working with the stuff that pre-exists. But hey, at least we got this. Like that's amazing to me.
Yeah, and I mean the packaging is really lovely. Again, they understand, the kidult audience. I feel like I should have gotten an alcoholic drink just so I could take a drink every time I have to utter that word.
Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea. I mean, it's too late now, but it probably would have been a good idea.
Yeah, it's fine. I didn't want to drink tonight anyway. I've had enough booze in my life.
All good.
Yeah.
Can I also point out the retro Spider-Man figure that they're putting out with the old Marvel Comics logo? Spider-Man Unlimited gets himself a action figure. They also put out one of Kane. Kane makes sense because Kane still shows up in the comics every now and then. Spider-Man Unlimited, the 1-season follow-up to Spider-Man the Animated Series that very few people remember nor hold in high regard. Even though it had bones, like if it had been given the opportunity to actually grow, I think there might have been something there, but it never got the opportunity because people started tuning out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I will also say, now that I think about it, again, we talk about how we have an age difference. It's 4 years, which is a lot bigger when you're a kid. And I had already moved off of Fox Kids because Kids WB was a thing.
You're right. The age difference does play into it because I was definitely still watching Fox Kids at the time. And I remember tuning in and they actually kind of did their best to tie this in to the Spider-Man animated series with that first episode, even if things didn't quite, make perfect sense because suddenly Mary Jane was back and when is this exactly taking place in the timeline, yada, yada, yada.
Isn't that like every show now?
Why not tell me about it?
We'll eventually record a comic timing episode talking about Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
And we can get into timeline arguments about that one.
Oy vey. Yeah. But either way, this is a deep cut and they know it. And they're definitely putting this out there for the fans that might be interested in it. And, honestly, good for them, especially with Spider-Verse, existing the way that it does now. Like you can put out these more obscure versions of Spider-Man into the world, and they may very well wind up showing up in a Spider-Verse movie at one point or another. So why the hell not,
I mean, I feel like there's definitely throw, the spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks.
Yes. Oh my God.
I was wondering about this. They said when we were at the show, they showed us a Doctor Doom mask.
Mm-hmm.
They said it had just come off the the modeling plant, like they had just finished it. Mm-hmm. And brought it to the show, and I believe you could wear it, but I mean that's not the point of it. Is you put it on the shelf and it's got like it's so detailed. It's got rivets and like gears and as I pointed out to Ian, if you look closely, let me see if I can actually zoom in a little bit. You even have what look like runes and like floral florets and stuff
Mhm.
on the details. So I was really impressed with this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is a collector's mask, definitely. This is not for cosplay. This is for display, I feel like, more than
You
anything.
can wear it because even if you look inside, you can see like the grate over the mouth. Like you don't put that in unless you intend for somebody to at least be able to put it on.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean this is amazing to me. I mean, we don't know what Doctor Doom is going to wind up looking like in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, but I hope that this is the style that they go with here because it has that extra level of menace to it that I love seeing from a Doctor Doom sculpt in general, and hopefully the movies will capture that.
I mean, again, a whole nother podcast for us to talk about what the hell is going on with Marvel.
Yeah, I know. I feel you on that. But that's kind of all I really had from Hasbro outside of the Transformer stuff and Star Wars. Obviously, I mean Star Wars is Star Wars. There really wasn't anything new to report.
Yeah, to me, the biggest announcement wasn't even at the show. It was they recently announced that Galaxy's Edge is going to be selling Mara Jade lightsabers.
Oh shit!
Which it's like, oh, so one, you're acknowledging the character existed, and two, you're making a limited edition item for Galaxy's Edge based on this character that like was big in the 90s.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, tying into that, there is the Star Wars Vintage Collection, which, if memory serves, aren't there a couple of figures in there that are like extended universe one way or the other, or am I thinking of a different song?
Well, to talk about what I did think was interesting at Star Wars and the picture Ian put up, if you wanted to zoom in on the Mos Eisley,
Sure.
They recreated the Mos Eisley playset from, way back when, from late 70s, early 80s.
Yep.
And the box is funny because the box is just smaller. The playset's the same size, we swear. It's just more efficient because we try to be more efficient with our packaging.
Of course, yeah.
But I thought that was kind of a cool looking set because even for like the era, it's a good looking toy. I don't know how many kids would really play with it, but seeing
plenty of adults.
Yeah, seeing the 3-inch figures of different properties, like the fact that they even have stuff for like the newer shows like Ahsoka or Andor is kind of and again that feels like it is for the collectors, but they are in the 3-inch form factor that is kid friendly.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think they're still chugging along. I'm just weirded out. Like, for those people who don't know, I feel like I have to give a lot of backstory to things. Mara Jade is from the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which was made non-canon as of 2014.
Yes.
When Disney was like, we're going to get rid of everything and we're going to slowly bring in the stuff that we like.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff from the novels, Grand Admiral Thrawn were brought in. They were brought in on Star Wars Rebels and Ahsoka.
Yep.
But characters like Mara Jade, who was the Emperor's hand, like she did like secret agent stuff for him, but she ended up like becoming a good guy and marrying Luke and having his baby. And everyone loves her because she's just a badass. And it makes me very sad that they probably will never have her. That's why it's super weird to me to be like, we're going to sell her lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge.
I'll be honest with you. I would not be shocked if we see her in Marvel Comics form at some point.
Yeah, I could go with that.
Because like, even if they're not going to introduce her live action, because then they would have to, do some timey-wimey shit at this point, which, is Star Wars, so of course they could, but still.
Star Wars doesn't do timey-wimey stuff. It does flashbacks, but not timey-wimey.
That's true. Yeah, but I think that you could easily wind up introducing her into the ongoing comics, as there have been characters that have already been introduced in the comics that have been side characters that have really caught on in one way or the other. So why not bring in a extended universe character that makes sense in the lore of Star Wars already? So,
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I really wish I still had the same passion for Star Wars as I did when I was a kid, because we are living in this like bounty. And
Oh,
it's not even the shows. The shows I'm not crazy about, but I do wish I was more into the comics, honestly.
well, actually, you know what? Since we are talking Star Wars, just something to mention as well. We asked them about the lightsabers, and we asked them specifically about the price point. You were happy to see that it's still the same damn price point.
This is the craziest thing is that everyone, we're all familiar. They have the line of toy lightsabers where you put the batteries in and you turn it on and it makes the hum noise and it lights up. And when you hit it against something, it there's a and they've been selling those, I feel like, for 30 years at this point. I don't even know.
Yeah.
They have multiple price points because they have the cheap ones that don't use batteries, don't make noises, and those were like $10 the last time I checked. And then they had them here at Toy Fair, and I was like, "How much?" And he's like, $10. And and then I saw the ones with the batteries and the sounds, and I was like, "What's the price point?" And he's like, $20. And I'm like, "You literally have not raised the price in 25 years."
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is crazy. Like they were $20 in 1999 when the Phantom Menace came out.
That's insane to me.
I know that because I own a bunch of them. You know, they're in storage somewhere, but I have a Qui-Gon lightsaber, I have Darth Vader, I have Yoda, I have Count Dooku.
Hmm.
You know, I have a Mace Windu. You know, I have a bunch of them, and yeah, they were except for the Darth Maul one, they were all $20, and now it is 2025. They're selling, different characters, but they are still $20.
Which says to me that I guess if the components haven't really changed that much, then you
They're
can
just cheaper. Yeah.
you can keep the price point around what it is and make it work. But yeah, there's always going to be Star Wars nerds that want themselves, lightsabers, and if you keep the price point the same, you're going to sell the same.
Those aren't even for the nerds because those are kids' toys.
Yeah.
For the nerds, they sell the Force FX ones.
Yes.
And they are continuing with the Force FX. What was the one that they showed us? The new one?
Oh, yeah, I think I have the one here, if I remember correctly. Let's see if this is actually indeed the right one. The Balin Skull and
yeah, that's what it is. Right.
Yep. Yeah, Sabine's lightsaber is now going to be available for people to purchase in the hyper super sexy black line, which is the ones that are definitely more for display than anything else because oh my god, they are beautiful.
Yeah, I think these were announced prior, but
Yes.
it's still pretty recent. Yeah, I was just looking because I remember one year, and I still have it. I have the Darth Revan from the video game. Knights of the Old Republic because I'm a big freaking dork that way.
Yeah. And to touch on Transformers real quick, Transformers for the most part they had Transformers 1 stuff because that is now the hot line, as the movie did do quite well when it was out in theaters. They also had some Transformers Cyberworld, but I think the one thing that I'll focus on is the Optimus Prime that you literally can just like flip the transform. Like,
oh, that's not. Yeah, I threw up a photo, but it's not the one that they put up.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, because that's most of the stuff that was on display, including ginormous Optimus and whatnot. The one that I have a picture of here is the one that I'm mentioning just for simplicity, and also like this is a toy that I would have owned as a kid. Like it's an incredibly easy to transform Optimus Prime. So like. You don't need to worry about like any of the fiddly bits or like the joints or the which way do I turn it, which way do I not turn it. It's just
it's all about
and then transform. That's it.
It's all about having different age groups, just like we talked about with the lightsabers, how they have 3 tiers of lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
They have different tiers of transformers, and I think that's been the case for a few years now. Our friend Chris would probably be able to school us for 3 or 4 hours on the intricacies of it.
Yep.
But they have, for people like him, they have the ones that are like super complicated and have all tons of fiddly bits. But the thing is, like when the Transformers first came out, yeah, they weren't very like little kid friendly, and now they're trying to get that like to appeal to kids because they don't especially I don't know if maybe I'm just projecting here, but it does seem like kids nowadays have less patience.
Yeah, that can kind of be the case.
Yeah, which you can blame YouTube, TikTok, short form video.
Mm-hmm. No, that certainly can be argued one way or the other. Stuff like Transformers Cyberworld, I feel like these type of Transformers I started seeing more when I was a kid around the time of like the Beast Wars era. They definitely started simplifying the toys in one way or the other. But these ones definitely still need at least push the head a certain way, turn it in, turn it out, that sort of thing in order to get the full transformation going on. But
I could also be really cynical and point out that you want figures that are easier to transform, because ones that are hard to transform are also more likely to break.
That too.
And toys that break, you as a company, you don't want that, because your results, I mean, you might have people who just say, oh, it's broken, and throw it out, but you're also more likely to have people who write negative reviews online, or who just email you and be like, this piece of shit that my kid played with broke after the first playing, send me a replacement, and then it just spirals into a whole thing for you. Just because it's really expensive.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I'll keep this under a minute. I was listening to the Good Job Brain podcast, and they were talking about why Coleco failed in the 80s.
Interesting.
Because I never gave thought of this, because they had Cabbage Patch Kids. Cabbage Patch Kids were huge, and they didn't mismanage Cabbage Patch Kids. I think that's what most people probably think, is they screwed that up, or the ColecoVision maybe screwed them. It wasn't that. It was the Coleco Atom, because it didn't sell that much. And the thing is, when people did buy it, there was a weird little quirk. It wasn't properly electromagnetic shielded. So when you turned it on, it would send out a pulse, and it would wipe all your disk.
Oh, no.
And they said you were likely, if you're setting up a new computer, the disk is going to be sitting right there as you're turning on the computer. And then you go to put the disk in, and the disk is blank, and you're like, oh, something's wrong with the computer. So you take it back, and you get a new one, and you bring it home, and you turn it on, and you do the same thing. And you might go through several of these, and they're basically saying Coleco's not making any money because they're just sending 5 atoms to one customer.
Oh my God.
So that's the short version of what I found out. And you should listen to Good Job Brain. It is actually a very fun, it's a trivia podcast. And each of the hosts usually gets to do a little segment where they give a presentation on something. And that was Chris Kohler's presentation for that.
I almost forgot to mention, by the way, an excellent.
Oh, yes.
Yes. The Venomize Spider-Man toy, absolutely brilliant. So there's literally liquid inside of this Spider-Man toy that if you squeeze it, it will turn Spider-Man from the red and blue into the black costume, and you'll be basically venomizing Spider-Man. And if you click a button, it'll keep that in place. So if you want to play around with black costume Spider-Man and not have to squeeze it the entire damn time, you do have the ability to do that. This is a brilliant toy, and it doesn't look like it has any chance of leakage or anything like that. It's just as simple as squeeze it and then unsqueeze it one way or the other.
Oh, it will leak.
I'm sure it will.
A child will be like, I wonder, and stab it, because there's always that one kid who doesn't know how to just enjoy something.
Well, okay, for most kids, there's not going to be that much of a chance of leakage. But either way, this is brilliant, and I absolutely love that it exists.
Yeah, I would say that is one of the highlights of the booth for us, because otherwise it was a lot of standard stuff. Like in the photo Ian's showing, we see some of the category you're looking for. When you said earlier, when we were talking about Mattel, was you said cosplay. Yes. The official term is role play items.
Okie dokie.
I feel like I've been seeing a lot more over the years. Like every year I see more and more. They sell masks and gauntlets and different things so kids can act out different characters. Which is fine. I think it's very imaginative. You throw them in the costume box when they're done with them, and I think it's cool. I remember, since we were talking about how there's no tech in anything anymore, that I did test a few years ago Iron Man AR mask. Mm-hmm. That you would put the mask on, and it would work with the phone, and you could see disc, and you would shoot shoot at the disc. Yeah. Cool idea. Didn't really go anywhere, like a lot of things, because even Hasbro, we didn't see that much tech stuff. So
no, we didn't. But the closest thing that we came to technology outside of Nerf, which is Nerf, or so be it. This is one of the closest things that I'll get to it, and that is Play-Doh, baby. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sets that they have, chef's kiss. Absolutely chef's kiss. Like, do you want to play with the turtles and make yourself a pizza? You can finally do that. And I accidentally broke off a slice when I was doing so that just made it even cooler. But yeah,
I regret that we didn't get video, because even the lady at the booth was like, "Oh my God, did you get that on video?" Because yeah, it literally broke off in two pieces, and it looked like it was a little triangle slice. It was so weird. It's very cool. Like, yeah, the Play-Doh is already formulated to be yellow with the little red dots for pepperoni, and you push it into the pizza maker, and then it'll spit out individual pies because you cut them and everything. But they also have like ooze. I see that in the photo.
yep.
And you can just make stuff for your turtles, with the molds and everything. So, and the figures are actually very good looking. I think they're
They
very
are,
cute.
yeah. They're tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles style, so they're the newer generation turtles, but excellent cute builds to work with the play sets here. There's also some other sets, like some Marvel sets. So there's Spider-Man and Black Panther and whatnot that you can work with, and a bunch of other branded Play-Doh sets. But there's also simple things like grill sets that are pretty damn fun.
Yeah,
too.
I really like the grill, because what you do, like, it looks like a grill, a barbecue, whatever you want to call it, and you put the dough into the indentations to make like a hamburger, and then you put the hamburger on the grill, and when you close the lid, there must be like chalk or something, because then it'll make grill marks on the Play-Doh.
Brilliant.
So I, in the photo that Ian's showing, there was like a hot dog that already had the grill marks. I actually took the sliced pineapple and put it in there, and
Yep.
made little, I don't know if it's like permanent, like if you've just effed up the Play-Doh forever, but Play-Doh is relatively cheap anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You can. I mean, yeah. Like you said, worst comes to worst, you buy yourself more Play-Doh. But I have a feeling it'll probably come off easy enough. So. Yep.
Yeah, it just seems like powder. The other thing, I mean, I think we can move on from Play-Doh, but the one last thing I wanted to point out, and this was so weird to me, was so they're doing a collaboration with Barbie, of all things, which is weird because it is two of the biggest, not the two biggest, but two of the biggest toy companies,
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro and Mattel, collaborating on the two of their largest brands. And the way this works is that you have sheets like have already stamped out with like patterns, and then you can run them with like cutters. Like everybody who's played with Play-Doh, there's like cutters, and you smush the dough in them and it cuts out shapes. But here the shapes are clothing, and you put them on the Barbie doll and you squeeze them into place. And I thought that was really interesting because you can even make ruffles. They have a ruffle maker.
Yeah.
You push the dough in and it squirts it out. And the thing is, if you're careful, you can make really, really nice dresses. And I think that's a cool idea because I'll be honest, I would make Play-Doh dresses when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
But would a typical kid, make one that looks as nice as the ones that we saw on display? No, not a goddamn chance.
Probably not.
Even I, as like a 40 something, was like trying to smush the ruffles together. And I was like, my big clumsy hands.
Oh my god.
But I still think it's really cool. And it's something I wouldn't mind buying a kid because it's funny, is one of the largest selling video games in the 90s was actually Barbie Fashion Designer.
Really?
Yeah, it was the outfit, like the thing where you would, you install it on the computer and you would be able to draw like designs on costumes. And then it came with this special like cloth that could go into an inkjet printer.
Mm-hmm.
And it would print on the cloth the patterns that you made.
Nice.
And this sold like gangbusters. I never had it because I could tell right away it was going to be kind of janky. Because I was a teenager. I'm not going to buy spend $50 on a piece of software, just to make Barbie clothes.
Yeah.
But this feels like that. That's why I think it could be a success. Because especially since Barbie, older kids don't really play with it anymore, but little kids still do, and kids play with Play-Doh, so the two kind of go together. So I thought it was a good idea.
Also, I don't know if you knew this, the movie made $1 gajillion.
It did. They're still living off that high. I think they finally announced, or rather, I've seen it on some sheets, but they haven't fully announced that they're finally releasing an Alan doll.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Because when they did release one, either last year or even in the end of 2023, it was a reissue of the original Alan, not the Michael Cera version. but it sounds like they finally got the message and are making a Michael Cera doll.
Also, on a somewhat related note, just going back to Mattel for 2 seconds, there's also a movie coming out with the wrestling's biggest heel, Jonathan Cena, in it, based on the Hot Wheels franchise. So we'll be seeing that coming out in the not too distant future.
I'm so mixed on that. No, they were talking about Matchbox.
Oh, Matchbox. Matchbox. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, I think the Hot Wheels one is still in development. They haven't announced anything about it. I am worried. I am of the opinion that Greta Gerwig should just do all the Mattel films.
Yeah, why not?
It felt like that car chase, that absolutely like unnecessarily long car chase in the Barbie movie was just her auditioning to do a Hot Wheels movie. And if you could have what's her face, America Ferrera's character in every one of these movies, I would be perfectly fine with that.
The guy directing the Matchbox movie is Sam Hargrave, who acted as second unit director for season 2 of The Mandalorian. He was also the stunt coordinator for several films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the Russos.
Okay, that could be cool. I don't know, because like getting Greta Gerwig was like a big deal.
Oh yeah,
like it was a long shot, but also a smart choice. Like things. Just topics for other podcasts.
Oh yeah, he was second unit for Infinity War, Deadpool 2, and Avengers Endgame as well. So he does have experience, just not as main director. So hopefully it'll not suck. But how about we just move over? How about we move over to Playmates real quick and talk about those Power Rangers figures that are coming out?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do more of the talking here because I had aged out of Power Rangers when it hit. So Power Rangers does not engender the same excitement for me, but in general I thought like they had some good stuff on display. I mean, everything is we're talking about toys these days are way higher quality. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the listeners are already aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed, they had the Power Rangers toys with the flippable heads, like when I was a kid. Only the bodies are actually proportioned this time around. That was the one thing that always used to suck about the ones when I was a kid, is that like the body would be smaller than the heads, or the heads would be smaller than the body, depending on.
I feel like it was usually the heads that were smaller because the body had to be big enough to fit the mechanism.
Exactly.
And these new figures, the torsos are still a little bit bigger.
A little bit, yeah.
But they're not like Liefeld Cap big like they used to be.
No, definitely not. Yeah, and the likenesses are way better on the actual figures than they were when I was a kid as well. Yeah. So they're still not perfect, but they are better than they were.
Laser scanning makes everything better. I mean, I like that they have the role play items, like they have the dagger.
Yes, the Tommy's dagger that plays music as well if you flute it up like it's supposed to. They also had a whole bunch of retro turtle stuff that I was surprised at how much they had from the different generations, but it makes sense because they've literally had the Turtles license as long as I can remember.
Playmates, they had the original license as far as I remember. They've always had that. I mean, I'm sure it was a little bit of effort. Like again, this might have been another we're reissuing some of the same products, though we did make them slightly better. The packaging might be slightly. Oh, that's what I'm getting confused. The Mos Eisley we saw earlier at the Hasbro booth, when I said that the box was like, it's the same size. That was not on the Mos Eisley thing. It was on. It was on the sewer set, if I remember correctly. Yes,
you're right. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, because they said it's the exact same set that they put out years ago. It's just the box is smaller because boxes are smaller now. Like that's what it is. Yeah. In fact, here is said sewer playset, which very much looks almost exactly the same as what it used to.
I think it was really funny because I never had the sewer playset. Me and my brother had some Turtles toys, but we never had anything really big.
Yeah.
So when we saw the set, and I immediately started pushing down the elevator, and I didn't realize the April O'Neil figure was inside.
Oh God.
So there was just like this crunching noise.
Oh,
And I was like, oh shit, no, April, I'm so sorry. Which I wanted to say, one thing I like about Toy Fair is, again, it is an industry event. It's not a fan-oriented event.
correct.
Everyone is there to do business numbers.
Mhm.
So
Is this working?
a lot of the time you are allowed to touch things, which is
Yes.
nice. Not that it's a universal rule. I have been yelled at sometimes at Toy Fair for touching things.
Yes.
It did not happen this time, thank God, because I was like, "Can I touch the hair?" And they're like, "Why wouldn't you?" And I'm like, "Because the last time I tried to touch Wonder Woman's hair, I got screamed at. There was like a hair out of place, and it was bugging me, and I was like, "Stop." But yeah, like you can actually touch things. Like they might let you pick it up. Some of the stuff will be glued down. We did run into a few people who are like, "Goddamn, kids have been touching everything all day," you know, because even though it's an industry event, because they understand that part of their ecosystem is influencers.
Yeah.
So people under the age of 18 who would normally not be allowed are allowed if they are on like a YouTube channel and they are the primary personality.
Yes.
Because that's just it. You can't just be like, I unbox videos and sometimes my kid wanders into the frame. Like the kid has to be the star.
No, you can't do that.
In the past, I've found them very depressing because I've seen people like shove their kids towards tables, like, oh, look at this, and the kid has no goddamn interest. But I think we saw a few kids and they actually seemed somewhat excited, so it was less depressing. But I also didn't see as many child influencers as I feel like I normally see.
There were at least 2 or 3 kids that were touching things they weren't supposed to be touching, or without actually getting the okay to touch first. But that was few and far between, luckily.
Yeah, well, that happened when we were looking at those stupid, farting plushes.
Yes.
And there was one on the floor, and I picked it up and stuck it back on the wall, and the woman started screaming, and she's like, "Oh, we have some over there you can touch. You're not supposed to touch these." I was like, "It was on the floor. I was picking it up." She immediately got apologetic.
Oh, yeah.
But she said it's because kids have been annoying the hell out of her all day.
Yes.
I felt bad. Like we patched things up, but it's very interesting because when in the old days pre-YouTube, the only time you'd see kids was usually on the last day when nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah.
And
now it's are you an influencer? Do you have over 1 million followers? Come on down. That sort of thing.
Like I said, it was like not finding that news. The only place I can find any information on Toy Fair is like social media stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's so frustrating.
I know, because that's where we're turning as a society, unfortunately. So if you can get the likes or the reskeets, that's right, reskeets, then
we do not use Twitter around here anymore. We are on Blue Sky because Blue Sky is free. Or it should. Yeah.
I wanted to mention real quick as a segue into Bandai. Playmates had Godzilla X Kong toys, and then Bandai had the real shit.
The toys that Playmates had were fine.
Yes.
And they were more playline stuff, to use that term.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you are a Godzilla fan, you are going to go to, these are Ian put up on the screen, the ones from Playmates, which actually look great for playline toys, and they have motion and stuff. And they're fine, but they're also from the American Godzilla movies, which are also fine.
They're okay. I still haven't seen the most recent one, so I can't comment on that one. But the one before it, Godzilla X Kong, I actually stupidly enjoyed. It was mindless entertainment. But Godzilla -1 is a absolutely fantastic movie. That is,
it's the real best picture of 2023, according to Raph, which I actually somewhat agree with, even if I do love some of the other films.
I would have nominated it, definitely. But then we get stuff like this in the Bandai booth, spanning the entire history of Japanese Godzilla and the different iterations, like Godzilla 2004, Godzilla 2023. They got some Mecha Godzilla in there, and there were tons of other figures as well that just spanned the entire genre of Godzilla in multiple facets. I think they even had a black and white figure, if I remember correctly, for the black and white version of Godzilla -1.
It's called Godzilla -1 minus color.
Thank you. Godzilla -1 minus color.
That's what the real fans say, Ian.
Pardon moi. Pardon
I
moi.
love that book. I still have never watched it in color. I've only watched minus color because
I saw with color. I've yet to see it without color, but tons of great stuff on display at the Hasbro booth. Godzilla,
not Hasbro, Bandai.
I'm sorry, Bandai. Godzilla, Dragon Ball, One Piece, like as many things you could as you could.
So what I like about them, in the photo Ian's showing, there's all sorts of Godzillas and the other kaiju like Ghidorah and looking for some of the robots and God, there was a Hedorah figure. What the hell? My favorite, actually, it's not in this photo. Well, I was gonna say the price points are really good.
Yeah.
Because you've got like $10 things, 15, 20. I mean, yes, you have the sets that'll cost you hundreds of dollars.
Sure.
But for me, like my favorite toy that we actually saw were the little $5 blind box figures.
Oh yeah, those were
these little chibi-ish Godzilla. Like here, I'm looking at the photo, and it's got Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah, and Mothra, my girl Mothra.
Yep.
And what's cool is they come in the little boxes they come in looks like skyscrapers. So once you get them out of the box, you keep the box and you can make a little diorama. I mean, you could color it if you want or not. It doesn't really matter. It still kind of evokes the movies.
Sure.
Like the cheapness of it.
Yep.
And $5. These are great stocking stuffers. They're probably like Comic Timing recommends. Maybe we should do a buying guide, actually. It might not be a terrible idea.
Not a bad idea. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was one of my standouts of all the cool shit we saw. And we saw a lot of cool shit in the Bandai booth.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, like immediately it's always like the price point, knowing that I can just turn over a $5. It's not going to break the bank. Getting all of them, maybe, yes.
Yes, but if you're a completionist, that sort of thing, then that may not be something that you want to try to get yourself started with. But as a cool little trinket, then absolutely worth giving a go. Definitely. Yeah, and their Dragon Ball figures continue to be on point. They always have been. They always will be. For again, multiple price points, but even the small ones have excellent detail and look like they're supposed to.
Yeah, and they're smart enough. They're also smart enough to have those big chonky ones.
Yes.
The chonky ones are basically like bash toys. Because kids will just slam them together, and they're meant to survive being hit together. And they had a bunch of those, but then they had like the standard action figures.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, they WCW had the ones that had absolutely barely any likeness to the wrestler, but you can bang them around, and that's what mattered the most. And that's kind of what they're spiritually embodying with that. But there really wasn't anything new on Tamagotchi front, right? Because I mean, it was
sorry, I put up a photo, like some of the Dragon Ball toys have these backdrops now, like when they go Super Saiyan.
That's awesome.
You even have like the little ghost guys and all that. And there was also one for I think a Naruto character. I don't think I got a photo of that one, but it doesn't really matter because most of you are probably listening to this as a podcast.
Fair enough.
Tamagotchi wise, the one thing that stood out, I don't think I have photos of. Oh, I do. Since we were talking about plushes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still sharing.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they have these little buddies. This is a new product, actually. They're little backpacks that look like the classic Tamagotchi, and they have a clear window in them. And you open it inside, you have a Tamagotchi plush. And what's amazing about it, I don't know if I got a video of it or not. No, I did not. Sorry.
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah. What's cool about them is that they're transforming plushes. They're reversible like the T-Turtle ones, but they transform not just once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have baby, adolescent, and then the adult Tamas. And I thought that's really brilliant. And again, I'll say Comic Timing recommends.
And we do recommend it. Yeah, it was a really cool plush and a cool concept. And the only thing that we saw that was like a triple transformation. Like we saw double transformations, but 3 different transformations in one. Like that's well worth it.
Plush technology has come a long way, Ian.
Yes, even plushes have advanced significantly since we youngins.
Yeah, since I accidentally opened the photo. So should I tell the short story here, Ian?
Please, by all means.
So no, we were in the Bandai booth, and there's this. We're waiting to get our tour, and this woman looks at me, and she's like, "Oh, Kris and Ian, did you used to work for Pokemon?" And I was like, "Yeah. Well, why? Have I met you?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah. You took a photo of me at like Otakon, and you put me in Pokemon Fan." And I'm like, oh my God, they're all grown up.
It was Anime Boston. I remember it was
Anime Boston,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Anime Boston because when I was at Pokemon, we had a little like a quarterly magazine called Pokemon Fan that they
Mhm.
would give out at events. It wasn't something you could subscribe to. They would give it out at events, and it would have like articles. And one of the features was like a fan spotlight. I don't remember if it had a name or not, but basically, we would spotlight different fans. And I usually would just like if I saw somebody wearing a cool costume at a convention, I would take a photo and get their contact info
Yeah.
and reach out to them. And she was one of the people I reached out to. And now she's a grown-ass adult working for Bandai at their amusements department, I think she said.
I believe so. Although
Yeah.
she did mention at one point that Pokemon was one of the first licenses that she got to work on with Bandai, which is kismet right there.
Yeah, it's really sweet. It honestly makes me feel good about myself to think
Yeah.
that somebody remembers me and
Oh, absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
told her I said I'm very proud of you, and she was like, "Thank you." I'm like, I'm proud of all my little Poke babies. All
Yes.
good people. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Pokemon fans are usually pretty good people. I
Oh,
took
yeah.
a photo of her
Yeah.
just in her pose, and then yeah, turtle. I can unshare now. Here we
Yeah,
go.
no, it's all good there. What really surprised me in certain ways, even though the booth was smaller this year, we did make our way down to Funko.
So, I mean, I don't know if it really was small. It definitely felt smaller because it was crowded. Like
I think it was.
Funko,
I think it was smaller because I remember it having two separate booths, if I
yeah.
remember correctly.
I think it had a bigger. I had a bigger area for like the Mondo stuff.
Yes.
So Funko is the perfect example of why some booths require appointments because the booth was packed.
Yes.
With like looky-loos and also just like influencers who have to take videos and they literally have the camera and they're pointing it at everything in the booth.
Yep.
So, it was a little bit annoying to walk through, but it can't be helped. We could have made an appointment, but we still would have had the jostle in there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the thing. Okay, so yeah, so Funko. Oh yeah, they have NBA Jam Funko Pops coming out, or they're already out, but they are just glorious. I'll let you talk about them. You're more of an NBA Jam player than I am, probably.
Boom shakalaka. They are pixelated to look like they did in the original NBA Jam video game. They have double packs. So Patrick Ewing and John Starks, for example, is one of the double packs that I took a picture of here. Really, like at this point, there's a pop of everything. And when they do things like this that I just find uniquely kitschy, it makes me happy.
As you know, yeah, there's a pop of everything, which is why I made a little game out of it.
Yes, you
Maybe we
did.
can link that in the show notes because I've been getting a lot of Funko ads now, and Funko ads are just like a bunch of pictures of pops
Yes.
with no context. So
Yeah.
I'm literally just staring at this image going, what the hell even is that? You don't know until you click on it. So I made my own little game along those lines. But yeah, no, we saw some cool. I mean, I don't know. I do feel like Funko is reaching a point where it's hard to innovate when it comes to the pops.
But it's the stuff, it's the smaller stuff that really hit the mark for us this time around.
Yeah,
And
so I looked it up. I mind you, I had gotten a sample of these the Bitty Pops, I think they're called.
yes.
A few years back. I think I got a Lord of the Rings one. I don't remember, it was one of the Hobbits. I didn't know what to do with it, so I gave it away. And maybe they realized like some people are going to collect all the pops, the Bitty Pops, because Bitty Pops I feel like were made for people who can't buy the regular size pops.
Yeah.
Because they take up a lot of room once your collection gets big enough. Yeah, Ian's got Gandalf. I got Sam, these little things. What's cool about them is they basically look like the little boxes, and then you can open them, and there's a little figure inside.
Yep.
And yeah, people were probably collecting these. They now sell display cases, like is basically what you could describe them as,
Mhm.
like castle, like a Hogwarts castle. Even though, boo, Harry Potter, we're down on Harry Potter. But yeah, they sell things like the castle that you can display your bitty pops. But now, in August, I looked this up because I this blew my mind. Like in August, they started introducing these things called bitty towns. You
Yes.
could get like a little house, and it came with a bitty pop to go inside of it.
Mhm.
And those are very cute. Like little, I actually went and bought one after the show. I got this little bag end. That's why, where was my camera? There it is. I bought a little tiny bag end, and it came with a miniature Frodo that I can put inside of it.
Nice. Nice.
And it cost the retail price on the Funko site is $8 for one of these sets. I got it for
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
So now what they are doing is, and it seems like they were playing the long game on this all along, because now what they're going to be selling are like road pieces and like basically so you can make a street grid like SimCity-esque, and you can put your Biddy's town pieces into a Biddy city.
Mm-hmm.
All this branding is just getting me. It's like, you
Bitty
know,
city. Bitty, bitty,
bitty
bitty.
bitty pops, bitty towns, bitty cities. And yeah, so they have street pieces, and they even have things like traffic lights and traffic signs that go on the street pieces, and
Yep.
you can just plug in the different pieces. So they already have, you know, these sets for things like Ollivander's wands, again, boo, Harry Potter. You know, I have Bag End. They had yeah, there's the Ollivanders, which my sight was completely shot because I was exhausted at this point. So I squinted at it. What is that? The hotel, the building from Only Murders in the Building. And Ian goes, yes. And then I took a close. I'm like, no, this is Harry Potter merch. God damn it.
I would have also thought for a minute that that wasn't actually like a Harry Potter pop inside, because it looks a little bit like Christopher Lloyd from
That's
back.
just it. I was like, I see a little gray-haired old man. My brain just filled in that it must be like Steve Martin, you know, like, and then
Yeah.
I took a closer look and I'm like, no, it's not. But
Yep.
yeah, they have the Harry Potter, they have Bob's Burgers, and you get a little Bob that comes inside of it. You have the Quickie Mart, which comes with Bart.
Yes.
There's SpongeBob SquarePants and his Pineapple House. Yeah, the Bob's Burgers set. I gotta get that one.
Oh yeah.
And now you can put them all together into like a little, again, a SimCity-esque street grid.
Yep.
And based on what we saw at the show, they're going to start doing more generic sets so you can build like a larger city.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a bunch of little houses, and then you sneak in your bag end, and then you put some more houses. Or you can have a little movie theater, and you take your Bitty Pop figures and you can put them inside the houses. There's also a thing called Bitty Rides. Like you get the Batmobile, so you can have the Batmobile going around the road. And I'll admit it, I'm obsessed with this now. I love this because it's so small, and I like how modular it is. So now I can just set it up on like my coffee table if I want, and just leave it there. And it's like really affordable because again, the Bitty Pop figurines, they're usually blind bagged. Those are $3 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy entire sets that might be like $10, $15 for multiples. The houses again are $8 on the Funko Pop site. On Amazon, they're between $8 and $10, which isn't great, but it's still not too bad. It just reminds me of like people who get into model kits, but those are so finicky and the pieces are like really hard to manipulate. Like, and once you set it up, you're not moving it. And this is like made for those people, for people who want to do that, but also don't have a permanent place to put it. Like this is a thing you can clean up and throw in a box and not worry about it for a while.
And Bitty Pop adjacent, they also have these arcade cabinets that you know, correspond to different arcades. So like Tron, they have Sonic the Hedgehog, they have, and they're a similar form factor to what you were just discussing. But you can own yourself a little arcade cabinet with your favorite.
It's a display piece,
character.
basically.
Yeah.
Like the houses before they introduced the Bitty Cities thing, the houses are basically meant for display.
Yeah.
And that like helps because, like I said, I got a sample of these Bitty Pops at a previous show, and I didn't know what to do with it because it's just a tiny little box.
Yeah.
Right. But then when you have a diorama that you can put it into, you know, that encourages you to keep it, you know.
Yes,
and, like, do stuff with it.
a diorama like one that Raph will probably soon own, like the Fortress of Solitude, to put your Bitty Pop Superman into. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that blew my mind when I saw it. I was like, is that the Oh my God. And we tracked that with there wasn't a Superman in it at the time, so we had to go find one and stick it
Yep.
in there.
Yep.
And we were able to at least play with some of the pieces.
Yeah.
But some of it was also behind glass. Like they had a model of like Funko headquarters. I don't know if they're actually going to sell that or if it was just for the display.
That was in that initial picture that I had.
Yeah, it's weird because I went looking for info online and I couldn't find much info. Again, talking about how you can't really get toy news.
Yeah.
Like I did again, I found out that a lot of this stuff had already come out, but now they seem to be codifying it into basically a new product line.
Hmm.
And I'm actually really excited. The street pieces and everything, I think the packs will be like $7 or $8.
It's not bad.
Which is yeah, it's not great, but at least comes like I said, it comes with traffic lights and signage and trees. So
It also comes with a new obsession and hope that you have enough room in your basement for it. That's about it.
oh, I'm just gonna use the corner of my apartment that I don't
Or
use.
that also works. That
Yeah,
also
the corner you made fun of. You're like, I'm in the outskirts. I'm in the place nobody wants to sit. And I'm like, I basically just have like a whole room past my couch over there.
as long as you have room, then that's really all that matters in the end. So that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and they even have like bikini bottom for SpongeBob. Like they have
Yeah,
tons of these.
his little pineapple because he lives in a pineapple under the sea. I feel like we've pretty much wrapped it up. Though I want to tell you my other highlight of the show. Though you're the one who got to play it, so should I throw out a
Yeah, go
picture
ahead.
here? Let me see if I find a good photo.
While you're looking it up, I will comment that they had a Ghostface pop, and it was labeled as Ghostface because they got the rights to Ghostface. They didn't get the rights to Scream.
Yeah, that's always so weird. And I had to like Ian was like, did they only get the rights to Ghostface? And I remembered that the mask, because the mask was pre-existing before the movies.
Yep.
But when they started making merchandise and everything, they had to go to the company that made the mask.
Yes.
Because it's not actually like the whoever makes Scream didn't actually get the rights to the mask like on a permanent basis.
Yep,
So
exactly.
it's Ghostface instead of Scream, which is just kind of messed up.
I know, it's weird.
So I feel like the highlight of the show, like I'm mildly obsessed with this, but Ian's the one who actually got to play it. Is that they introduced these? They came out last month, no January actually. Dungeons and Dragons pinball machines.
Oh yes. Yeah, and it was so much fun. Newer pinball machines over the past couple of years have implemented video screens as basically an added feature and function to the screens. Like I got to play a Godfather pinball machine when I was in Jersey a couple of months back, and that had a full video element as part of it. And with Dungeons and Dragons here, it kind of becomes its own little like pinball module of Dungeons and Dragons. Like you're sent on missions that you have to achieve by getting the ball into certain spots.
Well, it's actually a full-fledged like almost like an interactive fiction game because it would ask you to choose which path you wanted to go down.
Yep.
And it gave you like it has a story.
Yeah.
And so you don't know this. I mean, even in the photo, you can see in the corner how there's like a little blue light. For that, you would scan, like you get the app and you scan it. And that makes the game persistent. So you can continue a game you played previously.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, because it's like it is basically a campaign you're playing. You level up, you earn equipment.
Okay.
And it will like change the game. Like the equipment will be reflected on the game board because certain things will lock.
Right.
Like components will lock in response to what you have equipped.
Mm-hmm.
I did a deep dive on this thing. It's absolutely nuts. I think the price there's 3 versions. It's the same basic game with the story. Like again, you choose what path you want to go down. You fight different enemies. The low end version is called the Pro version, which is ridiculous that that's the low end.
Yeah, right.
There's Pro, Premium, and then the limited edition. Limited edition's not out yet.
Okay.
The version you played, I think, was probably the Premium one. I wasn't really paying too much attention, but
it's called Dungeons and Dragons: The Tyrant's Eye. That's the full name.
Yeah, and the price points are crazy because it's like 6,000 and then like 9,000, and I think limited edition is like 12,000. It's crazy prices. But if you see them in like a Pinball Arcade, definitely give it a shot.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah, it has persistent leveling up. The difference between the Pro and the Premium and Limited Edition is that besides the Pro uses a plastic frame, while
Okay.
the Premium uses a metal frame, and the
Okay.
Dragon has more movement
Oh my
in the
God.
Premium. Like in the Pro, it can only move up and down, but
Uh,
the Premium one can also go back and forth, and it spits the ball back at you.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's also all versions have the like in the photos Ian is showing it has the gelatinous cube which has a magnet in it so it grabs
Yes.
the ball and holds it.
Yep.
But yeah, there's like different like there's like a shop you can like if you get the ball into it that's how you buy equipment.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I said, it's persistent across sessions if you use the Stern it's Stern Pinball if you use Stern Pinball's app and you can play the entire campaign. There's like multiple endings to the game.
That's really cool.
So I'm like, I got like, super excited about it. I was like, wow, I love pinball. And I'm like, this is just like all the things I like combined into one.
I'm sure the Pinball Museum is going to wind up getting one of these at one point. So the next time I'm in Asbury Park, I am going to play the hell out of this game if it's not already being played, which I'm sure it will be because this seems like the type of thing that somebody would just play the entire day that they're there.
Yeah, well, when we were there, they had two machines in the booth. They had the Dungeons and Dragons and they had X-Men, and we didn't get to try X-Men because that guy was pretty much just camped out there.
Yeah, you could see his hands because we passed by multiple times and this dude had not moved once. So
I don't know if he
really
works.
cool.
I have no idea if he works there or is just some rando. Because there were a bunch of guys sitting in the booth and then they just left. And this dude was the only dude in the booth, and that's when I got even more confused.
And this has a Days of Future Past element to it because you can see the Days of Future Past on the pinball machine itself. So I'm sure that probably has something to do with.
Well, if you look at it, if this this X-Men one in the corner, there's a on the frame, there's a Sentinel, and if you see his eyes lit up,
Yep.
that's the scanner for the app for the Stern app.
Nice.
So
Okay.
it's likely this also has a persistent storyline.
Probably, yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. Just
That's really
nuts.
smart. That's super duper smart, especially this day and age. Like, I would go back to a place if it had this pinball machine, like as much as I could possibly go back to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to think that pinball is still a thing because you're like, well, don't we have video games? Why didn't we have pinball? And I mean, one, it's just the tradition of it, but I also think it's the mechanical parts. People kind of grasp that intuitively. Also, and I think I mentioned this to Ian when we were in the Hasbro booth, how even though that we played that Monopoly that used the cards, that used the camera, and you would scan the cards, it still used physical dice.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is because human beings are really shit at calculating odds.
Yep.
And if they roll a virtual dice, they're liable to be like, oh, it's fixed. The computer is against me. It's rigged, whatever. But if you roll physical dice, they just accept it in a way they don't for the electronic one. And I think that might be part of the psychology behind why pinball is still popular. Because you're like, no, I saw the ball go this way. I just didn't hit it hard enough. That's my fault. Like you blame yourself more than you blame the machine.
And for many years, pinball was illegal, and now it's not in New York. So
that blows my mind. Like my dad loves pinball, and then I got to remember that for most of his youth, it was illegal. And I'm like, how did you even like it then? That's so weird to me.
Well, just because it was illegal doesn't mean that there wasn't places to play.
Yeah, I know. It's just really funny.
Yep.
We have a lot of even New York has some weird ass laws because we also had the cabaret laws.
Yes, that's also true. Yes,
those are the ones where you're not allowed to dance. You have to have a license if people are going to dance in your establishment, which is why a lot of places don't let you dance, even if they're playing music. But they finally, I think they finally got rid of it because it's a stupid law.
Two last things of note. Super 7 was one of the last things that we saw while we were there. I got a picture of this awesome Optimus and Megatron that come in cases reminiscent to old VHS. So the figures themselves are inside of VHS packaging. So yeah, nerd. Definitely for people our age, but really cool how they set it up, and the figures themselves look straight out of the animated series. So
what's also interesting, I didn't notice this when we saw them, is that the Optimus Prime has a created for Macy's sticker on it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So that's interesting because Toys R Us, a lot of Toys R Us's are in Macy's now.
Ah, yeah, okay. So maybe that's exactly where these are going to be is in the Toys R Us inside of a Macy's.
I don't know because I visited the Toys R Us inside the one on 34th Street. That was actually really nice. Not up to the standards of the Toys R Us, the long lamented one that used to be in Times Square.
Right.
Yeah, but then I've also been to the one on Fulton Street here in Brooklyn, and it was garbage.
Yeah,
There's a reason they're closing that one down.
I know.
Finally.
Yeah. They had Sesame Street figures at the Super 7 booth, so Roosevelt Franklin, and of course, the one that I was very happy to see, Mr. Hooper. Mr. Hooper action here. That's great. It's just nice to see Sesame Street figures of any kind, really.
The person in the booth said they weren't sure if people would buy Sesame Street because they're like, isn't that like a little young? But the thing is, everybody grew up with Sesame Street. At this point, the show's been around so long, you'd have to be very old to not have grown up with Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah.
It started in what, 69?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And these are part of the reaction line with Super 7, and their logo, I'll zoom in so you could see it a little bit better, is absolutely going for the Kenner logo. Like that you know what they're rolling with there. Like that is very obvious with the font and the style of it all. Like they want to get that nostalgia factor as much as humanly possible. And you think Kenner when you think toys that look like this one way or the other. So clearly what they were rolling with us.
Those toys aren't meant to be played with, which is why they can kind of be a little awkward and cheap looking.
Exactly.
Because like I said, we're talking about how toys are getting better, but they'll still make toys that look like the old ones because the people who will buy those are adults who just want to look at it.
And of note, they also have license to do older style G.I. Joe toys. So, retro style, retro-esque, only in Super 7 packaging and, the old school, packaging in and of itself, just, with a little bit of a new flair.
Yeah, the bubble packaging. Yeah.
The bubble packaging, yeah.
So it's something I noticed. I commented to Ian while we were there, because like between the Hasbro booth and then the Super 7 booth, that G.I. Joe, they only had, for the most part, the male characters.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like like in the photo Ian's showing, you can see like Snake Eyes and everything, but then there's Cover Girl. I'm like, okay, Cover Girl's a little past my time, but I'll take it. But yeah, I only saw Cover Girl in the Hasbro booth too. I saw no Lady J, no Scarlet, no Jinx, and no Baroness.
Well, because Scarlet literally just had a miniseries in the new G.I. Joe comics that are coming out. So, like, it's not like they're not using Scarlet. I guess they just didn't have it on display for some
I don't know what's going on with that. And, we didn't even mention that when we were in the Hasbro booth, they were pushing the comics.
Yes, they were.
And I thought that was really a really nice touch. I wasn't expecting that. We walked up to the outside of the booth and they had some in a display. Mm-hmm. And then when we went in, they had a bunch of them sitting on like a counter or whatever, like the Kirkman stuff. So.
They did, yeah. All the current basically Energon universe stuff was on display, and I'll comment on this and then we'll wrap up from there. That they also had Thundercat stuff at Super 7, and these are the deluxe figures, and I want every single one of them because they look great.
They do. They were good character designs too.
They are.
I mean, I'm just talking about like the original character designs. That's what makes them good action figures.
Yep. And I believe if I scroll further here, well, they do have some Godzilla stuff and Godzilla -1 color for that matter. We were talking about that. They have that at Super 7, but I think they also had Silverhawks here. If I took a picture of it, but I may not have because I don't really care that much about Silverhawks, and I think the answer is no on that. But for the Micronauts fans out there, Biotron and Baron Karza available now from Super 7 for $20 a pop. So Micronauts is back, and these are in the style of the old Micronauts figures. So yeah, grab them if you're into Micronauts. And like I said, the comics are back out and available in collections over at Marvel as well. So yeah, Rom and Micronauts back. Yes.
Oh boy.
All right. Was there anything else of note you wanted to tackle?
No, I mean, I think we covered everything that's of relevance to our comic timing audience.
Here's the last one, actually, and I just remembered it. Diamond had a booth.
That was weird.
Yeah, Diamond had a booth, and it had a whole bunch of stuff on display. However, we know as well as anybody that Diamond Collectibles probably is short for this world. Unless they wind up selling off that portion, that seems to be the one that's probably going to get the kibosh first, because it takes a lot of money to get the toys made, let alone shipped. So they were on the floor. They paid for the booth already. It made sense, but
It's also going to be super weird. And the thing is, we didn't really, this was literally, what, 2 days before the tariffs were announced.
correct. Yes.
So we don't really know how anything's going to shake out, because now if they're going to, yeah, we're going to have this 20% tariff from China. That's going to affect manufacturing.
Yes.
The tariffs for Canada will affect printing. This is probably something we can have a longer episode on comic timing, talking to Jamal.
Yeah.
I will say I at least can figure that Mattel might be okay, because a lot of their stuff is made in Malaysia.
Mhm.
But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with toys and see how much of the stuff actually makes it to store shelves in the original time frame.
Good point.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely good point. So, yeah, overall, it was a really good time. We did enjoy ourselves, but I couldn't help but think the entire time we were there, whether or not there is going to be a 2026 in the size and fashion that we saw. I mean, yes, if it still achieves its goal, which is not for us press folks, if it still achieves its goal of people looking to buy toys to be sold, making contacts and getting their toys purchased, then mission accomplished, and it will continue. But it was pretty empty there.
Yeah, I mean, I know they kept saying, "Oh, it was more crowded on Monday." Sunday felt more crowded than Saturday.
It
It
did.
was weird that it was so empty on Saturday, because again, I feel like they're like people like me want, I mean, not even just this press, like, no, I just want to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
I want to get this out of the way. I want to talk to people before they're exhausted.
Yeah.
And if there's freebies, I want to get the freebies.
Sure.
Which, yeah, Toy Fair is not a thing you'd really go to for freebies. I'm shocked we even walked out with as much as we did.
We walked out with more 2 years ago than we did this year.
Yeah.
Which frankly, I mean, that's only because I think people are a little bit more like, please take our stuff. Like, we really want people to, get to know more about us type of situation.
Yeah. I also asked for stuff more often, because I was like, just give them, just can we? We walked out with a lot more candy too.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Like, I got a giant bag of jelly beans. It's so unhealthy. You do not go to Toy Fair if you want to like watch your waistline. It's so terrible.
Oh yeah, I still have the bag of candy that I haven't quite finished yet, with a whole bunch of nerd clusters and Reese's. So
Nerd clusters are the greatest candy.
I know, yeah. But overall, we had a great time. I do hope there's a version of it to come in 2026. We shall see. And I hope that the toy industry, continues on in the form that we want it to continue on, quite frankly.
I think it'll be interesting to see how it adapts to, again, the hellhole we seem to be living in right now.
Well, yeah, maybe if the world, can decide one way or the other whether something's going to happen, then we can actually react to it. But that's a whole other story, and not at all for this comic book podcast that we run here. But mission accomplished, I'd say. We enjoyed our 2 days, and
yeah, I mean, we've given you our highlights, and we've given you, what we think of the industry. I feel like we have a lot less to talk about than we did with last Toy Fair, which was just controversy and weirdness.
Yeah.
So but I thought it was a good show, and I always like going to the Javits when it's not Comic-Con.
That is also true, yeah, because you can breathe. That's the most important thing. When I go to an event and I can actually breathe, then I feel happier in the end.
You can breathe in the bathroom because it doesn't smell.
That too, and there's really not that big a line for the bathroom. So, yeah, good times.
Yeah. So no, I think we hopefully will go next year, and we'll have more to talk about, and
Yeah,
and we'll probably go to some other toy shows, as they pop up during the year as well.
Absolutely. So, let people know where they can find you and all that jazz, and we'll go ahead and wrap up from here.
So I am where I usually am. You can find me on Blue Sky at Lampbane. on not Tumblr or sometimes YouTube, but mostly Blue Sky, and also I have an itch.io account that I've been using. And we'll link the little stupid little downpour game I made in the show notes probably.
Yep, and of course, we're both on Blue Sky, and that's our main form of social media at this point. Even though I have a Threads that I barely use, so that's good times. I've settled in on Blue Sky. I feel like it's as close to old school Twitter as I'm going to get.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I guess I should just let the listeners know. I'm not on Facebook as much, even though we have a group and it's pretty active. I cannot really use Facebook or Instagram in good conscience. I will go and check once in a while, but I'm trying to detox, and I'm not buying from Target for Lent either.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, let's wrap this sucker up.
Yay.
Email address is comictiming@gmail.com. Facebook.com/comictiming is where you can find our Facebook. Even if he is a fascist, we still have one. Comic Timing fan group is also alive and thriving, so join up there if you have not already done so. Blue Sky is Comic Timing. We're on Instagram as Comic Timing Podcast. We're on Threads as Comic Timing Podcast. And our YouTube channel is at Comic Timing Podcast. You can find that there as well. And of course, head to comictiming.net, where you can get the basically everything and all the links there as well for all of our stuff. So for Kris, I'm Ian, reminding everybody out there that there's always time for comics and toys. We talked about toys in this episode.
Bye.